3, 2, 1. I think we are live. I'm just going to check on Chrome. Where are we? Let us know if you can hear us, guys, in the chat. Might be silent for a few seconds. It's usually quite quick to load. Yep, we are live. Hello, can you hear me? Can't hear anything.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I can hear you.
Right, here we go. Right. Just need to... Right, I can't see that the Hangouts is in the session, though, so I've just got to sort that out quickly. Welcome, everyone. It's Banana Warrior Princess here. I'm here with Todd from the channel Praise of Folly. Hi, Todd. Are you okay?
Yeah, how you doing?
Yeah, good, thanks. Yeah, you approached me, I think it was about a week ago, wasn't it, on Facebook, asking whether I'd like to do a discussion with you about veganism.
Yeah, it was about a week ago.
Yeah, and so here we are today, and we also have Tim Jong-un, who's going to be the moderator for this discussion.
How's it going, everybody? Thanks for having me.
Good to have you on, Tim. Because you moderated the vegan gains versus, was it friended? Debate, didn't you, not so long ago?
Yeah, it was friended. I guess you could say I moderated that. I more just sat there in silence and let them civilly have it out.
Yeah, you didn't do
until the very end. The very end was my favorite part, when I asked Vegan Gains to say something nice about Adam, and he basically said, "Well, I think you're a stupid piece of shit."
Yeah.
I'm paraphrasing,
really
but
good.
it was my favorite part.
I liked that when you said, "Come on, say something nice about Friended." That was really nice of you. Yeah. So yeah, thanks for coming on. I don't think we're going to need too much help from you, Tim. It's just that I've watched Praise of Folly, Todd. Sorry, your video about it's entitled "Veganism Refuted," I believe.
Yeah.
And there's some things. I mean, we're going to go into it because we're going to discuss name the trait, which is the thing that you have some problems with, correct? So we're going to go into that. But there were some things that you discussed on that video that I didn't quite understand fully. So that's why I brought Tim on, so he can sort of, if I don't understand anything that you say, or some things that you say, then we'll just go through them. And also so that the audience can understand fully what you mean as well. Yeah. So basically, I mean, you messaged me last week, and you said that you wanted to talk about, basically there's 3 things you wanted to talk about today. You said that you wanted to give sort of moral and logical justifications for why humans should eat meat. The second thing you wanted to talk about is you wanted to argue that name the trait is not a truth statement. I'm not really sure what that means, not a truth statement, because I think it's more of a logical consistency test rather than a truth statement, if that makes sense. So we'll go through that. And then the third thing was that you said you wanted to get the meta-ethical problem of the underlying utilitarianism.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not really up on philosophy or anything else. I don't really know what all these philosophical terms mean. Probably neither do my audience. So we'll go through that as well, and we'll break it down so we all understand it, so we can progress from there. How does that sound good?
That sounds great.
Yeah, okay. I mean, just a bit of housekeeping before we start. So we're going to crack on with the debate in a minute, which we just agreed before we streamed that it's going to take about an hour and a half. And then after that hour to an hour and a half, at that point, if anybody wants to, do the super chat or anything like that, do it at that point, because I'm not going to be able to read all your super chats during the debate, guys. It's just going to be, we're going to get busy, so we're not going to have time to read them. But then after the debate, then I'll read I'll go for the chat. Tim, if you want to stay on and chat with me, that's great. I've got some people that might want to come on to discuss the debate afterwards, a bit of a debrief. And then that'll be it, basically. So, yeah, Todd, I watched some of your video, and what I got from it is that you're a Christian. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's one thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And I got from it that Well, I wasn't quite sure actually. I just wanted to ask you first because obviously you said that there was some formal things wrong with the way that the name the trait argument is structured.
Mhm.
But I wanted to ask you firstly, I mean, do you believe that, humans have moral value? Because if you're a Christian, I'm assuming, therefore, obviously you do, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so basically your worldview is, humans have moral value. I mean, name the trait, obviously, really, all it does is just, it basically follows logically from that worldview that, humans have moral value. Is that the kind of vibe that you get from name the trait, or where do you see the problem with name the trait?
Yeah.
Elaborate,
Okay.
yeah.
So there's actually a lot to unpack here. So I'll go a little bit and then I'll see see how far we go. The first thing is if we look at name the trait that we see from Ask Yourself in his video Skeptic Community Challenge. There's two important. There's something important he says in the stream. He says that whether you're a moral objectivist or moral subjectivist, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Your moral propositions have to be logically consistent. So that's one thing he says. Yeah, I think it's in the beginning of the video.
Okay,
and then about 30 seconds in, he makes another point. He has two arguments. Two important points that I think we need to focus on about name the trait.
Which video is this in particular, sorry? Which particular...
The video that he did called Skeptic Community Debate Challenge.
Okay, that's quite a long time ago now. Did you see that he did a video today purely on name the trait?
The one today? I didn't see one today. I just saw that he made arguments for it there.
Okay, yeah.
Because he argued it had to be logically consistent. And so he said, well, what we had to have was, and he gave what he considered logical arguments for the truth of name the trait.
What
okay, you guys over here need to assist it and come up with the trait which can argument. But the problem is it isn't even an argument. I mean, that's really the problem.
Well, hang on a second. I'm not really sure what you mean here. I mean, I've got the sort of name the trait argument here. It's two parts, right? So the first part, you've got the argument for animal moral value, haven't you? So you've got P1, humans are of moral value, which you agree is a true statement, yeah? So premise one is...
I'm looking at this here. Yeah, he says humans are of moral value, premise one. Premise two.
Which you agree with, don't you? Yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, premise two, there is no trait absent in animals which, if absent in humans, would cause us to deem ourselves valueless. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, and then the conclusion, therefore, without established that's a trait.
Yeah, so, do you agree with premise two, yeah? There is no trait absent in animals?
No. Well, first of all, it's not even whether I agree with premise one or two. Well, if premise one and premise two are both true, it doesn't follow from the premises. That's the problem.
Sorry, I didn't catch the last bit of what you said there. Something doesn't follow from the premises. The conclusion.
Yeah, conclusion doesn't follow from the premises. Even if I grant, for the sake of argument, that both the premises are true, follow.
Yeah, which they are, correct, because you agree with both of them in your worldview, don't you, that humans have moral value, and you agree that there's no trait absent in animals, which if absent in humans would cause us to deem ourselves valueless. You agree with those two premises?
No, I don't agree with the second premise, but even if I did, it doesn't follow.
Okay, so why don't you agree with premise two? What's wrong with that?
Because premise two is question begging. The vegan is assuming what they're trying to prove. The vegan is assuming there is no such trait.
Well, is there or isn't there?
No. The vegan is, with the burden of proof rests on the person making the claim. So if I were to tell you, I met a movie star today, I would have to give evidence to you that I actually met a movie star today. And if I couldn't, which would be pretty high because movie stars you don't see them every day, you'd say, well, I don't believe you. You're making a claim, not actually It's very hard. It's a claim that's very hard, extreme. It could be true, but I need to prove a lot to do that. Argument is saying that we don't have to prove anything, the other side does. But they're the side making the positive claim trait. They have to first establish there is no such trait.
So that is the question. That is the question. What trait is there that is absent in animals that if were absent in humans would justify killing humans? That is the question.
I don't think you're understanding the objection here. The objection isn't the truth value of the statement per se. The objection is that it's begging the question. That statement itself needs to be demonstrated before it can be used as an argument against people that eat meat.
What do you mean demonstrate? Can you give an example? I really don't understand what you mean.
I think there's two parts to an argument that you have to consider. Part number one, the argument has to be what's called a valid form. In formal logic, a valid form is a form that is deductively, if the premises are true, then is necessarily true. So a deductive argument is in a valid structure. That might be, for instance, the modus ponens.
All right. Well, I think
that would be Q then P. Q therefore.
Yeah. But all this kind of language, it doesn't make any sense to me. Okay, like you're breaking it down. Just I have no clue what you're saying. I'm just asking you, what is the trait if absent of what is a trait absent in animals that if it was absent from humans would justify doing what we do to animals to humans instead? What is that trait?
The argument's complete non sequitur right here because it isn't even
I'm asking you the question though, because
I think what Todd's trying to say is that it's an argument from ignorance. In other words, there may very well be an answer to the trait, but he doesn't know what that answer is, and just because he doesn't know that there isn't a trait doesn't mean it makes the argument valid.
Right.
Not quite. It's closer, Tim. The point is not that I don't know. BWP doesn't know. The question is that has to first be demonstrated for the argument to even make sense. And if that hasn't been demonstrated, so they're saying...
Sorry, you've completely lost me. I don't understand.
The person that eats meat has to justify... Is it another way? Maybe it's more clear this way.
Yeah.
Has to justify the dissimilarity to justify eating meat. Then the vegan must also demonstrate the similarity that rules out eating meat. Both sides have a burden of proof, but the vegans making the positive claim case are bearing the burden of proof, which they're not bearing.
Tim, can you break that down for me? Because I have no clue what this means.
Well, I can try.
I knew this would happen.
I kind of disagree. He's saying that because we're making a positive claim. We're saying that you shouldn't eat meat. He's saying we have to show a trait that says why we shouldn't eat meat. Now, I think there are traits that show why we shouldn't eat meat. And Todd, please tell me if I'm wrong, if I'm misinterpreting you. But basically, because we're asking them to name a trait that would justify not eating meat, or they have to give a trait rather to justify eating meat, or name a trait that would justify not eating meat.
Closer. It's not that you'd have to identify a trait. You would have to show that there are no meaningful trait differences. That if that would be the case, then that would be evidence for the position the vegans are arguing for. But they're assuming that there is some fundamental that would prevent us from eating them, but that hasn't been demonstrated at all. And name that trait doesn't even attempt to demonstrate that. But I think maybe this is even more fundamental than this. Valid form. It doesn't mean anything. It's like, you would agree, I think, P, that if I said there's a square circle, you'd say, too many drinks last night. Of course, there's such thing as a square circle. And you'd be right, because that's meaningless. It has no actual meaning to it. An argument that's invalid has no meaning to it. It's like talking about square circles. In that form, there's nothing to talk about. Full.
So how does this relate to name a trait then, and going back to veganism?
Oh,
how does
sure.
this all
Well,
fit in with, like if it's not if it's unnecessary to eat meat, which it is.
Yeah, how does it get back to it? Well, this is only a minor hiccup because you can write the argument in a valid form. I will let's see. I think I can share.
So really, you're saying that you've got a problem with the logical structure of name the trait. So you're not really actually refuting veganism. You're just refuting the logical structure of name the trait and its validity.
That was only one problem. Now, to get beyond this, because this is only a superficial impediment, a valid,
I still don't
logically
really get
valid the trait. I was going to screen share it, but I don't think I can do it from my end.
Yeah, to be honest, I really haven't got a clue what you're going on about. It's just, everything you're saying is just going completely over my head. I don't know if you can break it down in just simple layman's terms.
Let me try to break it down in simpler bites.
Just really simple language that, just give examples rather than using overly abstract language, maybe?
Yeah, I'll give you an example. Okay, let me give you a really simple example. Okay, we say, raining outside, then it will be wet.
You're
right?
You're really glitchy at the moment. I don't know if it's a problem with my end.
Let me try that again. If it is raining outside, then it will be wet. Therefore, it is wet. That is a valid components. If A, then B, A, therefore B. We've got true premises, so it's sound. And so both of these.
Yeah.
Now, if I were to say, if it's raining outside, therefore it'll be wet, or it's raining outside, that's not necessarily true. It could be wet for some other reason. It could be wet because the fire sprinkler went off. So that's an invalid line of inference. Follow that much?
Yeah. I hear you.
Okay, so the line of inferences that we take, valid, because if they're not, we come up with things that aren't true. Just because it's wet outside doesn't mean it was raining. It could be wet for any number of reasons. So that would be the fallacy of affirming the consequent. This kind of language is important because if we want to make reasonable evidence that we see, we need to follow these structures that ensure that we reach correct conclusions.
Okay, so going back to paragraph 2 then, is there something in that paragraph which you disagree with, which invalidates that sentence? And if so, what is it?
Okay, let's see here.
So there is no trait absent in animals, which if absent in humans, would cause us to deem ourselves valueless.
Yeah.
What's
the
wrong
problem with that is back to what I think, and to explain what I was saying, is that the way that should have been written, valid form would be this.
Yes. Go ahead.
Actually absent in animals, which isn't potentially absent in humans, then killing an animal is morally wrong. No trait actually absent in animals, which isn't also potentially absent in humans. Therefore, killing animals for food is morally wrong. Now, once you frame it in a valid form, you actually see that the vegan is making a positive claim here. Such traits. But the vegan doesn't even attempt to demonstrate that. So the vegan is bearing the burden of proof in the argument and failing to shoulder it.
Because it follows from P1, doesn't it? Humans are of moral value. Therefore, animals have to be of moral value unless you can demonstrate otherwise by naming a trait that makes animals devalued. Unless you can name that trait, then you have to give animals moral consideration. Otherwise, you're contradicting yourself.
Are you asking? Oh, I need some clarification on this.
Yeah.
Are you saying that if there's a couple ways that you could take what you're saying? Are you saying one, that because we assume humans have moral value?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because once you've said that humans have moral value, you've bootstrapped your ethics. So you're going to have to say that animals have moral value unless you can point to a difference that makes it justifiable to kill them? Because you've already bootstrapped
It's
ethics
not
at that point by saying that humans have moral value. So you're saying, that all humans should have like universal rights, the right not to be exploited, the right not to be murdered, that kind of thing. And therefore, you should say that the same is true of animals, unless you can point to the difference that makes it justifiable to devalue one and not the other. Otherwise, it's a double standard.
Yeah, so what you seem to be saying is that it's sort of like in a court of law, you presume somebody innocent until proven guilty. We assume they bear rights until you prove they can't. I think that's necessarily
but that's what you're
follows.
Saying. Yeah, but that's fine, because in your worldview, you're saying that you believe that humans have moral value, right? And you yourself, Todd, believe that humans shouldn't be exploited, they shouldn't be murdered, they shouldn't be raped, this kind of thing, right?
Yeah, but here's the thing. Because
if you believe that yourself, Todd, then you should therefore extend those same rights to animals. Unless you point to the difference between them that justifies valuing one and not the other. That's all you need to do.
That's the point. The should has to be proven. If I were to create an ethical framework in which only humans have moral value, I have not committed so.
You've not committed a what?
Can I attempt to bridge a gap here?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, Tim.
Todd, could you give a trait that you think would the positive assertion for vegans?
You're saying that? Okay, yes, I can. It would be the vegan would. Well, okay, I don't think I can think of a trait, but the vegan would need to demonstrate positively that whatever humans have that bears rights, animals have that attribute to the same capacity. Therefore, a same or similar capacity. Therefore, we should extend to them the same rights we extend to ourselves.
Yeah. So basically,
if you say that sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So basically, to the same extent that so animals, non-human animals, and humans are similar because they are all sentient. We all experience pain, suffering, different variety of emotions, that kind of thing. Yeah. So because of that, then we should have the same universal rights not to be exploited, because we are all similar in that respect. I'm not saying that animals should have the right to vote or should have a right to education or anything like that. Because if you were in a position, if you were a human that could not, couldn't possess the cognitive ability to be able to understand politics and that kind of thing, then you would agree that person, I don't know how you feel about this, but probably shouldn't have the right to vote. It's the same with animals, so
Well, okay, let me ask for a point of clarification here. You said earlier that if we believe in universal human rights and things like that, or human value, however you want to quantify or discuss that we must necessarily extend to the same or a similar degree, I would say similar degree, to animals. But see, that doesn't, because if I argue that humans have moral value, that does not necessarily in and of itself must of necessity have moral value as well. That's something that needs to be demonstrated through some. I don't see. The inference is assumed. It's not proven.
No. But if you're going to say that animals don't have those same rights, then you have to point to the difference. That's what I'm saying. You have to point to the difference. Otherwise, it's just arbitrary. You're just saying animals don't deserve rights because.
But if the vegan can't point to the similarity, then that's also just arbitrary. Because
I did
if there is no
I did just point to similarity, though. I said that we both experience pain, suffering. I've written down a quote here. You probably heard of it. Hang on a second. So basically, have you heard of the philosopher René Descartes? Is that his name? So I don't know how you pronounce it. Descartes. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Oh, hang on, I thought I wrote down this quote, but it seems like I haven't. Oh, how about this? The British philosopher, here we go. Jeremy Bentham said the question is not can they reason, nor can they talk, but can they suffer? Basically, if we share the ability to suffer, if you're in a position where if you were in the animal's position, you wouldn't want that treatment to be inflicted upon you, would you?
Well, if I was in the animal's position, I wouldn't be thinking.
What do you mean you wouldn't be thinking?
Well, because with the animal, one of the things that vegans like to argue is that humans inflict unnecessary harm on animals because we can choose not to do so. The animal to do much of anything. So it's kind of asking me to empathize with an animal is like apples and oranges.
The animal can't do much of anything, did you say? Did you say the animal can't do much?
No, choose.
The animal can't choose. Okay, so if you didn't have the ability to choose, would it be acceptable to kill you?
The point that you're not understanding here is that animals.
If you didn't have the right, if you didn't have the ability to choose, would it be acceptable to kill you? Yes or no?
No, the point you're missing here.
No, but I'm asking you a question because you're saying that if animals don't have the ability to choose, so therefore it's okay to kill them. So if you didn't have the ability to choose, would it be okay to kill you?
The point is
this. It's not a hard question, though. It's not a hard question.
Let me answer it.
Answer it then, please.
It's a complicated question, so let me answer it.
Okay.
The first thing is you're making a false equivalency between lacks the capacity to choose nature and a being that has the capacity to choose but can't actualize it. So, for instance,
they can actualize.
An animal.
They can actualize.
Well, hold on a second. A human, by its nature, humans by their nature have the capacity to choose. Now, if someone goes through tremendous brain damage, they lose that capacity to choose. But that's that humans can't choose. If that brain damage had never occurred or could be repaired through some modern technology, then that would be restored. Animal, it's not that they have a capacity they lost; they just don't have the capacity. Period.
Okay, and if you didn't have a capacity period, would it be okay to kill you? If you Todd didn't have that capacity at all in your life from when you were born, would it be okay to kill you?
That's a non sequitur because all humans have that capacity.
No, but if you did not, would it be okay to kill you?
But I wouldn't be a human. I'd be an animal, which is apples and oranges.
There are humans that don't have the capacity to do that though, from birth.
No.
It doesn't matter whether they are. It doesn't really matter whether they do or they don't. If you didn't have that capacity, would it be okay to kill you? Still a question you need to answer.
No, because the question is framed improperly. Animals lack the capacity, full stop. You can't do some sort of surgery on them.
They do have self-awareness, though. They do. Even chickens do.
No, but they don't have rationality.
Yes,
they can't solve differential equations.
No, they can demonstrate. Chickens can demonstrate self-control. They have a pecking order. They cooperate with one another. They have complicated communications. They've got 24 distinct vocalizations. They can sound alarms to one another when there's danger, and that's a sign of empathy, by the way. So, they're not unintelligent. So that basically
animals aren't intelligent. No, it's that they're not rational. Animals.
So if you didn't have the capacity for rationality, it would be okay to kill you.
A human, then it's a non sequitur.
Sorry?
I'd be an animal. To ask if a human can lack the trait, to ask the question if a human lacks the capacity for reason.
Yeah.
It's the category mistake. All humans necessarily have the capacity for reason.
Yeah, and I'm saying that animals do as well.
Can you define what you mean by the capacity to rationalize?
Yeah. Let me give you an example. Aristotle made this distinction between man and the animal. He said man was a rational animal. Man had the capacity to use reason. Now, of course, Aristotle was fully aware that some people either A, don't use that capacity because they're distracted with the affairs of life, or some people because of some sort of developmental flaw or some sort of damage to their, well, he wouldn't have put it in terms of brain damage, but something like that would cause, but the capacity is still there. It's latent in the human. And we can see that when somebody, for instance, people that have had some brain damage, depending on the severity of it, and then they get back their memories, they get back their ability to do things. So underlying capacity that's there, but it needs to be expressed through certain media. And if that media isn't present, not going to be able to communicate to us that way. Animals don't have that capacity, and it's not being thwarted.
Well,
so
you're not providing any evidence to say that they don't, because they do. They can rationalise. Even fish are capable of, like, you know, spatial relation. They know about spatial relationships, and you know, they can form like cognitive maps and stuff like this, and they can they have memories as well. So like they'll avoid places where like they know there's like predators and stuff like that. They'll avoid those. They won't swim in those kind of areas, and they can remember those kinds of things for months. So
but
that shows
that sounds more like instinct rather than reason.
Well, how do you define instinct rather than how do you define that? How do you know whether it's
reason? Okay, well, let me back it up a little bit further. Have what we call the first-person perspective, i.e., that when, for instance, when you look at a mirror, you see yourself, you have the self-awareness that that's you.
Yeah, but that's an anthropocentric test, though, so you can't just use that test alone.
When a dog and a cat, when a dog or a cat looks into a mirror, it acts as if its territory is being threatened by another cat or dog.
You can't just use the mirror test as a definitive.
To be fair.
This is what we went through.
To be fair to cats and dogs, they don't have the same visual acuity of humans, so a dog's not in a mirror. Yeah. But like, if a dog was capable of recognizing itself in some other way, would you accept that as evidence of self-awareness?
That would be one evidence, if we could demonstrate that a dog has that.
Okay.
So I'm a little unclear here about what BWP is getting at here. Are you saying that animals are rational like people?
No, of course they're not. They don't have the same rationality capacity as humans, but they do have a capacity for self-awareness. Because otherwise they wouldn't cooperate with other animals.
Self-awareness is the idea. Awareness is embodied in the principle of introspection.
Yeah, well,
when you think about
even if they didn't have the capacity for self-awareness, if you didn't have the capacity for self-awareness, would it be okay to kill you? No, so you can't deploy.
No, but again, humans are born with this capacity.
What?
And oranges. No, humans are born with these capacities.
Humans are born with those capacities.
Yeah, that's the definition of what it means to be a human. A human is a rational animal.
Okay.
Having these capacities. See, here's the category distinction. There's a super.
No. Wait a minute. Because basically what you're saying. What you're saying is you're plugging in the trait of humans. So because you're a human, therefore it's okay. So it's just
no.
It's just.
I think. Let me try to make a point of clarification here. This might help. If we have two things can be superficially similar but fundamentally different. So, for instance, are superficially similar. They're both elongated.
Are you going to now point out the difference between humans and animals? Yeah. Is that what you're trying to do now?
Humans are rational animals, and animals aren't rational. They can't introspect. They can't build rocket ships. They can't build cities or poetry.
Well, they can construct, though.
No, but that's not the same kind of thing. We're talking about the same kind of thing.
Okay,
humans have the capacity in us to write poetry, introspect, do philosophy.
So if you didn't have the capacity to write poetry, it's okay to stab you and eat you, is it? Come off it. That's ridiculous. That is pathetic.
This is apples and oranges. No, it's not, because.
So if you can write poetry, that means it's okay to just stab you because you can't write some pretty words on a page. Listen. That's arbitrary.
My point. This is how we explain it. If we have two things that are superficially similar, it doesn't mean that they're actually related. So, for instance, a snake and a worm are superficially similar in body shape, but one is an insect, one is not an insect, but an invertebrate, and the other is a vertebrate reptile. An animal that is in sound health running around the forest finding food, maybe no more intelligent than a 6-month-old. But here's the difference. The 6-month-old has a built-in capacity that as it grows and matures of events, it's going to be able to speak and do any number of things that it chooses to commit itself to. In the natural course of events, an animal is never going to develop that capacity.
Okay, so if you didn't have the capacity to grow into all those things that you just mentioned, would it be okay to kill you?
Have the capacity. That's the hang up.
Yeah, but if
I
you
don't
didn't,
have to actualize the capacity. It's potential capacity.
Well, it doesn't matter if it's potential or not, really, does it? If you didn't have that capacity, is it okay to kill you?
No, it does. You're assuming that I'm saying you have to actualize the potential. That's not the trait. The actualizing of the potential is not the trait. The potential itself is the trait. Potential, full stop, humans do. Actualize on it or not is irrelevant. I mean, I don't write poetry, I
So
do
if
logic.
you didn't have the potential to write poetry, it's okay to devalue your life. Is that correct?
Again,
is that what you're saying? Because that's ultimately the logical conclusion of what you're saying, which just sounds absurd to me.
The category mistake here is that humans...
Can I jump in real quick?
Sure.
Because I feel like we're going to end up going in circles in a minute here. So just so you guys know, we're just over 30 minutes. But let's say, Todd, if there was like a society that was completely separated from the rest of civilization, and that human society was isolated, and they never developed any culture, any art, any buildings. They just lived in a horticultural society where they completely lived off the land, only used what was natural, never developed language, but for all intents and purposes had a DNA structure that was exactly identical to ours, of moral value still.
Yeah, because humans as the rational animal have the potential to do so. If they choose not to, there's a lot of reasons why they might not to. One might be margin of utility; they don't have the time or the inclination. Two, limitations of physical involvement. But the fact that because remember, at one point, all of human society was just as you described it. Some societies decided to exercise their reason to get out of that, and chose not to. But the fact is that these societies all have that potential in them to do that. But
would you argue that the first species that was ever able to do this was human, or were there ancestors to Homo sapien that were capable of doing this?
I don't think that question is particularly relevant. If a creature could do that, that would raise it to the level that we're talking about. For instance, in Star Wars, for instance, you have all these alien races that build advanced civilizations. They would also be categorized as rational animals.
I guess I'm just trying to build a bridge between the disconnect that we're having between animals and humans and what the threshold is. And so understanding, like, obviously there was Homo that didn't build civilizations, yet we're still rational. So I'm just wondering what the threshold. Right? Well, yeah, I mean, even before hunter-gatherers. I mean, we come from a long lineage of a single genus, which is directly correlated to simian species. So I'm just wondering what the threshold is for you. And I'm really trying not to interject too many argument points myself. I'm trying to make a bridge here.
Well, like I said, that when you look at a species, since if we were to go to a hunter-gatherer society and we were to take him to New York City, give him an education, a bushman from sub-Saharan Africa could, a computer programmer or an engineer, but if we take a baboon from Africa, there's just no way we could ever teach that baboon to program a computer. That right there's the potential latent, even in the hunter-gatherer bushman, which is just completely absent in the baboon.
I guess, can we use something that's a little less extreme than programming a computer, though? Like, what about just, like, hitting keys on a typewriter in a specific sequence?
What we mean mean, if
the only reason why I asked that is because programming a computer seems like such a leap to prove, the capacity to rationalize.
Okay, we'll do something a little simpler. We'll do something like constructing a poem. Simpler, and I'm sure hunter-gatherers, they actually do have poems. They have like those oral histories of which poems are included.
What? Basically, what you're saying is that you're just going over. You're just saying poetry, though. Again, it's basically what you're saying.
Well, no, I was bringing up a simpler example. So because Tim said computer programming was a bit too high of a threshold, but
right, okay.
Well, hold on.
I just really want to get my point across because, listen, like everything you're saying, it's really overcomplicated, and this is what I was worried that was going to happen. The simple fact of the matter is, animals are sentient. We're sentient. Therefore, we shouldn't kill animals because they can feel pain and suffering.
Yeah.
We'll go from there. It's unnecessary. You don't need to eat animals to survive. Would you agree?
Well, hold on. Before we go there, you mentioned sentience. That's something I wanted to get to, so this is actually a good segue. Problem. That line of argumentation, if we follow it out, it's the plants. Because what we have...
Whoa. You're not going to say that plants are sentient, are you?
No, because we don't have to.
Okay, good.
Plants, humans, and animals all have the same material makeup.
Yeah, I know. You said this in your video. You said, I don't know if it was you or the other guy that was on it, said that plants are made of the same stardust that we are. I mean, what kind of woo-woo kind of... I don't know what you're going on about there, but how does that mean anything?
Point. I mean, what kind of woo-woo is sentience? That doesn't mean anything. If you're going to say...
saying that because we're all made of the same stardust, therefore we shouldn't eat plants. Plants don't have a subjective reality. They don't have a central nervous system or brain. How do they experience pain? They can't because they're not sentient.
No, but that's the point. Why should we privilege pain? Why should pain be the rights-bearing property? Why don't we just...
Because you wouldn't want to be in pain yourself. You wouldn't want to be in pain yourself in the same situation. Plants can't feel pain, so it doesn't matter if we kill them because we need to survive on something. So we got to eat plants.
Well, hold on. Some can. If you read Michael Parter from the New York Times, if peas can talk, should we eat them?
So explain to me explain to me why we shouldn't eat plants then, if they're not sentient.
Well, let me ask you this.
No, because you're talking too much. You're talking a bit too much. I feel like you're not even answering my questions. Sorry, go on, Tim.
I feel like we need to define some things. First, I think we need to define sentience. If we're going to consider that a topic of discussion. And then two, I think we need to define pain if we're going to say peas feel pain.
Yeah, because on the stream, on your stream, Tom, somebody mentioned mushrooms and peas. And I was just like thinking.
Yeah, that was less.
That's fucking retarded. Go ahead.
So is sentience. That's effing retarded. I mean.
Okay, so let's start. So Banana Warrior Princess, why don't you start by defining sentience in the context you're using it, and then Todd, after that, why don't you define pain in the context you're using it?
So, shall I go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, sentience is the ability to have a subjective experience of the world. And that's it. That's
the ability to have a subjective experience to the world?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You can't have that experience if you're a plant or a rock.
Yeah, the article that I mentioned, I made a mistake. It wasn't saying that they could feel pain. It was saying that they could talk. Because he gets into the chemical...
Who can talk? Sorry, who can talk?
This guy says peas can talk.
Can you define talk in this sense too? Because I think the problem with a lot of scientific articles is they try to use language that makes it sound a little bit more anthropomorphized than it should, and this is true both for plant and animal research. Once it gets to the journalist stage, it becomes something that it didn't start out as.
Exactly. So. Okay, so let's say here, it's by talk, if we translate it into scientifics, because he's doing it to be somewhat sensational. They communicate biochemically. all living organisms communicate biochemically. Plants, animals, and humans. So why don't we just say, name the trait, if we all communicate biochemically, then we all have the same rights.
No, because plants aren't sentient. So it doesn't matter if they can communicate biochemically or not.
Well,
there's other things that they can communicate. No, hang on, there's other things that can communicate biochemically that aren't plants or humans. The things that we've made, like man-made objects. Are you going to say that they have rights as well now?
Well, I'm not. I'm saying this is the line of argumentation that you're going through with sentience.
Well, no. Can you? Are you going to say, if you're going to say that what was it you said, biochemical communication? If that is a thing that you want to argue for rights for, then you're going to have to argue for the rights of things that can do that are man-made. I can't think of an example right now, but I'm sure there's something that can. That has that kind of purpose.
It's biochemical, so man-made things wouldn't be included because man doesn't produce biological things. No, but see, what I'm doing here is there's a logical inference called reductio ad absurdum, where of course this is an absurd conclusion.
You still haven't really. How are you defining sentience then?
No, I'm accepting your definition of sentience, but right. I'm saying why should we stop there?
Why should we stop there?
That's an arbitrary stopping
We're talking about the trait is sentience. Okay, so biochemical, whatever you said, I don't really understand what that is. I don't understand what that is. No. So you need to explain what that means to me first, and then after you've explained it to me, once you've done that, then we can go on to say, whether that is included in the definition of sentience, because I'm talking about sentience. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't understand how that's relevant here.
No, it is relevant because.
Well, tell me what it means then.
Yeah, if your point is the common trait that's a rights-bearing trait between animals and humans is sentient.
Yes.
Okay. For common traits for rights-bearing, well, why should that be a rights-bearing trait? I could just argue that. And that's biochemical communications is a rights-bearing trait. Since plants, animals, and humans all communicate biochemically on that, which is what many people are settling on.
Because you can't use that trait per se on its own to say whether something has the right to life or not. Because
you don't have the right. Because
it doesn't have any bearing on whether that object or thing or plant can feel pain and suffering.
But that's just the specious privileging of animals over plants.
No, that's just saying if you're sentient, you can feel pain and suffering. If you have biochemistry, how is that relevant to pain or suffering? It doesn't tell you whether the thing can suffer or not. But sentience does show that.
No, but
so you can't use biochemistry as. You can't use that per se to say whether something has rights or not.
No, but you see what I'm saying? This is what I'm doing to you what you're doing to the meat eaters. The meat eaters are using reason as the rights-bearing claim. You're using sentience, and now I'm using biochemical communication.
Well, let's start.
This just leads down to a weird end.
Let's go back to reason then. If you couldn't reason, would it be okay to stab you?
That's a malformed question. Humans have the potential to reason.
Yeah, but if you didn't, because there are some humans that don't have that ability.
No, you're confusing actuality with potentiality.
Sorry?
Many people don't actually.
Sorry.
Go
ahead.
What if there was like a person who was really senile and no longer had the potential? They're like 80 years old, and they're not going to ever have the potential to reason again. Would they then be fair game?
No, because they wouldn't have lost the potential. They would have lost the actual use of it.
Well, I mean, they would have lost the potential in the loss of their use of it. They have no potential for it to ever come back again. Right, so the potential's gone. I guess I'm not following you either. Then.
So it's not that one single trait per se then that you're using. You're basically just saying it's the species, aren't you? Because if that person had the capacity and then they lost it, and now they don't have the potential for it anymore, it's not that trait per se that signifies whether they have moral value or not. You're saying it's just it's just the human species.
But you're doing the same thing vis-a-vis plants.
What?
See us privileging against plants who communicate biochemically.
Well, plants aren't, like I said before, they're not sentient. They don't have the capacity to feel pain and suffering because they don't have a central nervous system in their brain to be able to experience pain and suffering like animals do.
So let me ask you this: if a cow could be, we can use different methods to inhibit pain receptors. If we could inhibit pain receptors when we butchered cows in factories, so they didn't feel any pain whatsoever, would it be ethical to kill and eat cows?
If they couldn't feel pain,
because it can be done. We can mess
well
around with the
let
nervous
me
system
ask you
of a
this:
living organism.
would it be okay to do the same to a human that couldn't feel pain and couldn't suffer or feel pain?
Hold on, I asked the question first. But this is relevant.
Yeah, I would say no because I would say that no. I would say no in the context of humans. So to be consistent, I'd have to say no. It's not right to the context of that cow either.
But that totally destroys the NTT right there.
How?
Matter because you're saying, well, hey, wait a minute. If you think that if a human can't reason, then you have to believe it's okay to kill him. Oh, I don't. And you believe that if an animal can't feel pain, it's still not right to kill them. Even name the trait. Suffering pain is the question, then all you just have to do is just, lobotomize the cow and kill it, and he doesn't feel any pain.
Yeah, and I'm saying if the cow couldn't feel any pain, it would still be wrong to kill the cow because they're still sentient, they're still alive. And if the same was true of a human, I would say no, it wouldn't be right to kill that person unless if they were in a coma or something. Say like if the human was in a coma. And they were on a life support machine, and the family's wishes were for that person to die, what have you. It was in everyone's best interest. Then yeah, maybe. Yeah.
No, but what you just did was what I did, and now you're being inconsistent because if I'm being inconsistent for not wanting to kill the mentally retarded person, you're being inconsistent with the cow. You're actually appealing to the actual potential aspect of sentience that I was appealing to for reason. Actually feel pain, and therefore even if he can't because he's lobotomized, you still shouldn't kill and eat it. If it's arbitrary when I do it, it's arbitrary when you do it.
Hang on, can you just go through that again?
Yeah, you said it would still be wrong to kill the cow if it didn't feel pain. The cow has the trait of sentience, but it doesn't actually have sentience. It's not feeling pain because you lobotomized it.
Yeah, okay. So what you're basically saying is this basically happens in the animal agriculture industry. The cows get stunned before they're actually killed and they don't feel any pain. This is what they do, right? So if you did that to humans, would you think that was ethical? If humans were stunned before they were killed, would that be ethical?
Hold on, you just contradicted yourself.
Well,
because
I'm asking you.
I told you my answer. I said wrong because humans have the potential, even if it isn't an actual potential. And you're agreeing with me because you're saying that the cow has the potential to feel pain, and even though it doesn't in this instance, it would still be wrong to kill it. You actually agree with me about the act's potency distinction. And so your objection against my humans falls apart. Exactly the same objection to save the animal from getting killed in the butcher shop. It's exactly the same argument.
Could this go in the reverse direction? Like you're saying reason is the distinguishing trait that makes it wrong to kill humans, okay to kill animals? Is that a correct summation of your argument?
That'll work for now, yeah.
Okay, so then could we use that in the reverse direction? Like only humans who can reason at a certain level, like they have to have an IQ above 100, are worthy of moral value. Therefore, humans beneath that threshold are fair game?
No, because again, the capacity to reason is in degrees.
So where's the threshold then? Where did you draw the line?
You demonstrate because humans see to do this. We see them do this all the time. Animals don't. We've never seen an animal do this.
Capacity for what?
We've already been here before. I think it would be best to,
no,
because
I
like
don't.
we mentioned before the stream, that we end up covering the same ground over and over again. The question really at stake here is that you are appealing to the axe potency distinction. You're saying that
Appealing
it's
to
wrong
the
to kill a
what?
cow
Appealing to the what?
because
Sorry,
because it can't feel pain.
You need to slow down. You need to slow down, Todd. Appealing to what? I didn't catch that. What you said.
Okay. When you're saying that the cow should not be killed and eaten because because it's sentient, because it can feel pain, I then said, well, you can get the cow to a state where it can't feel pain.
Yeah.
And you would say no, because it's still a sentient creature. But it's only potentially sentient, because it's not actually feeling any pain at all when you kill it.
Yeah, and if the same were true of a human, if they, were stunned before they were shot or had their throat slit or what have you, would it be ethical to do that?
No, but that's because humans are rational.
Okay, and if you weren't rational, if you didn't have the capacity for rationality, would it be okay to do the same to you? And there are humans that don't have that ability.
If the human didn't have the capacity, it wouldn't be a human. Asking me as a human if I lack the capacity is a meaningless question, because as a human, I can't lack the capacity.
Well, like I said before, animals can rationalise to some degree, so
you're confusing rudimentary instincts with rationality. Animals.
Well, you can't say whether they are or they aren't. You haven't really distinguished between.
I can, because we don't see them do it.
What do you mean we don't see them do it?
When the beavers build a rocket ship.
Well, they
plant a flag on the moon.
Well, like even fish cooperate with one another, and they sort of.
Okay, so you're saying the shared trait is cooperation. Well, so do plants.
Well, no, I'm not. It's not just that. They have complex social structures as well.
Yeah, but you see, here's the thing.
Social intelligence.
I know, but what you're doing is you're being speciesist and not going to plants, because what do we all have in common? Common material makeup, and we all communicate electrochemically. Why shouldn't those two be considered rights-bearing properties? I mean, name the trait. Name the trait about plants. That's the question.
Plants don't have like dominance hierarchies and that kind of thing, do they?
No, but I've already told you what they do have.
Which shows the capacity for rationality, surely. Like, if like a species, like say fish, for instance, they see a fight between two parties, and they know which one's won, and then the one that wins goes on to fight another fish. Then the fish observing those fights will know to avoid, the fish that wins all the time. So that's like, is that not rationalizing or conceptualizing things?
Most animals just operate off instinct.
Well, no. Well, how is that not How is that not rationalizing though?
Well, you would agree, though, right?
It's kind of like a math problem.
The animals act via instinct.
Sorry?
You would agree that animals act via instinct, right?
Yeah, and we act on instincts as well. We have to eat, we have to sleep. Like, those are things that I class as instinctual. Like having to sleep, trying to keeping clean, eating when we feel hungry. Those are instinctual. But behaviors
when you
are different.
Act on
no, hang on, let me speak, because you're talking quite a lot, Todd, and I'm trying to explain myself here.
Okay, go ahead.
I mean, I would say that I would define like instincts as things like eating, sleeping, trying to get clean, that kind of thing, because they benefit us, like our health, so that we can stay alive, right? Those are things that are instinctual.
Hold on a second. Are you saying instincts are behaviors?
No, instincts are things like eating, sleeping, keeping clean.
Yeah, but so you're saying an instinct would be something like eating or sleeping, sure.
Because it's involuntary.
When we
you
say
have
that,
to, like breathing.
Yeah,
it's involuntary.
So
you have to do it.
Let's say you fasted for a day. For a period of time, overrule your instincts, correct?
Yeah.
You weren't going to eat for a day for whatever reason.
Yeah, so that's a behaviour, isn't it? That's more of a sort of like a psychological sort of behaviour. You can override it because you can think strategically. You're doing it for a reason. Yeah.
Okay, hold on a second.
So you agree with that, yeah?
Yeah. Wait. So things are either voluntary or voluntary. Is that right?
Yeah. So
breathing is involuntary.
Yeah.
Normatively.
Yeah, you have to.
But then there are things. But then there are things that require rational motivation. That I need to eat. Voluntary.
Yeah.
Todd, do you think no animals are capable of doing these things? Is that what you're arguing? Your conjecture is basically that animals aren't capable of any type of reasoning. Everything they do is based on instinct.
Instincts, yeah, that's what I think.
That seems to be what I when you look at animals, that seems to be what you see from them.
Well, because I mean, even chickens, right, Todd? Even chickens have shown like they can hold out for food rewards if like there's certain problems they can solve. They'll like. Like the what was that test? In toddlers, the marshmallow thing where they hold out for a better reward. They've done tests. They've done studies like that in even chickens, and they will hold out for larger rewards so they can remember stuff like that. That shows clear self-awareness. And if that's the case in chickens, just imagine what the intelligence is for pigs and cows.
Hold on a second. This is an important point. I'm glad you brought it up.
Like chickens have a pecking order.
It is composed of matter and energy.
Sorry?
That exists is composed of matter and energy.
Everything that exists is composed of matter and energy.
Right? Matter's converted to energy and vice versa. So, do you believe that to be true?
Well, yeah. How is this? Yeah, is this going to be Is this going to be relevant though to whether animals can rationalize?
Because if matter and energy are all that exist, is anything. Everything is causally determined by the laws of physics, biology, and chemistry.
No, but this is going beyond name the trait though, because you're coming at it from. You're coming from like outside of that, like a more sort of.
Are you arguing? You're arguing that there's no free will. Is that where you're moving to, like the determinism argument?
I don't think this is relevant to what we're discussing here, because you said that you agree that humans have moral value. You bootstrapped ethics, therefore, for what's valuable to you. I mean, look, this is how. Much I know about ethics, right? It's hardly anything. I've started a book called Teach Yourself Ethics, right? It's just really simple, straightforward language, right? And basically, like I've only got to page 7, and it's already saying, and it's just really simple. And I don't know how you can disagree with this. Whether you think an action is moral or immoral will depend on your values and the ethical arguments you use to decide what is right. So to me, that means, if you're saying that humans have moral value and you can't distinguish between an animal and a human in a way that's meaningful, then you can't say that humans and animals are of less value. Because I've said,
I want to answer Tim first.
Like I've given you evidence for like animals can rationalize, animals can conceptualize, animals have self-awareness, and even if they did not have those abilities, if you didn't have those abilities, would it be okay to kill you? No.
Well, again, I want to answer first Tim's question, because he was asking a point of clarification.
Yeah, well, I just don't.
I'm not saying there's no free will. I'm saying that according to
it's not relevant.
The vegan position. Don't choose. There's no intentionality. There's no reason at all. And there can't be reason at all, because
we don't need to
as naturalists,
We don't need to discuss that though, because if you've already bootstrapped ethics by saying humans have moral value, we don't need to talk about free will and all that shit. How's that relevant?
Because look, if a lion eats a gazelle, has a lion committed some moral
How's that
transgression?
relevant?
What it is? Well, why isn't it wrong?
Because, I mean, lions are carnivores. They have to eat meat to survive. They've got no choice. You have a choice.
Got no choice.
Do you know how easy it is
According
to be
you, we
vegan?
don't.
Do you know how easy it is to be vegan? You just simply go down one aisle of the supermarket instead of the other, pick up some fucking, I don't know, veggie burgers instead of a steak. You just pick up a plant-based milk instead of a cow's milk. That's how fucking easy it is. So when you talk about free will determinism, I'm just like, how is that fucking relevant? How is that relevant to the argument? It's not.
You say it's easy to choose, but
it's not easy for a lion to choose, though, is it? Because a lion can't just drive down to Tesco's and, you know, they can't.
Choice isn't
they
even
can't survive on plants. Humans can survive on plants, can't they?
No, we still need
we
B12.
Can't. Are all the vegans dying all over the world? Then how many vegans are there in the world today? Exactly. We're not all dying, are we?
Hold on. You need to answer the question. Your worldview doesn't exist. So if I eat a burger, I have no more choice in it than a lion does eating a gazelle, according to you.
Hang on a second. What?
If everything is matter and energy, then you have nothing made by anybody. It's just chemical reactions.
Yeah, but you're talking about sort of meta-ethics and stuff like that. It's not relevant to this conversation because
relevant.
It's not, because we don't need to go into that kind of stuff, because you've already said that humans have moral value, and we're working from that vantage point onwards.
I already told you at the beginning of the stream.
So
from the premises, so it doesn't follow.
What doesn't follow?
Invalid. The fact that I think humans have moral value, nothing follows from that. The way it was structured in the
animal
NTT,
rights follow from that. Can you not see? Animal rights have to follow from that.
No,
because
it's not even valid.
We're all sentient. We all share common traits like pain, suffering.
If we're to go down that line, then we all have electrochemical exchanges, so we shouldn't eat plants either.
Yeah, but look, plants aren't sentient. We've already been over this. We don't need to discuss plants, okay? Just leave the plants out of the conversation because it's not relevant. Really? Plants aren't sentient. We're talking about sentience
the NTT
here.
Then.
And we just
I'm doing the same thing you're doing. I'm just applying the same principles to plants.
No.
Biochemical messaging.
Oh, that was perfect. Thanks, Tim.
I didn't catch all of that because you cut out, Tim.
So
Why
basically,
don't you repeat the question?
Yeah. In short, is there a reason that makes sentience more valid as a trait than biochemical messaging?
Yes, that's a good question. That's a really good question, actually.
Well, thank you for putting it so clearly, Tim. I thought I was doing a good job, but I guess not.
And just so you guys know, we're at just over an hour right now. We're at about an hour and 5 minutes. And Todd, you've been speaking about roughly 3 minutes more than Banana Warrior Princess.
Okay.
So can you answer that question? I thought that was a really good question that Tim asked then.
I thought the question was asked to you, and you have 3 minutes to make up.
Oh, sorry, I didn't hit. So the question is sentience more important than biochemical? Yeah,
why is sentience more valid of a trait than biochemical messaging? Basically, Todd's contention is you're saying that sentience is more valid, or he's saying reason's more valid than sentience, and you're saying sentience is more valid than biochemical messaging. So can you argue why sentience is more valid than biochemical messaging?
Yeah, sentience is more important than biochemical messaging because with sentience, you basically, as I defined sentience earlier on, it's your ability for a subjective experience, okay? So with a subjective experience, that there's a whole spectrum of different things that could entail, from the very depths of despair, like depression, anxiety, you know, like just like the depths of, you know, a really horrible reality for yourself, ranging all the way to extreme well-being, you know. So you have like this landscape of, you know, like pain, suffering. Think of like the worst possible scenario for humans and animals that you could possibly think of. That would be all on the spectrum of sentience. So, you know, your subjective reality, ranging all the way to extreme well-being, like the best scenario you can think of. And you know, plants and rocks and everything else, they don't have that capacity as sentient beings do. So that's why I think sentience is just vastly more. It just carries so much more weight in terms of value than biochemical signaling, which is just. I mean, I'm not really sure. I haven't really researched what that means, biochemical signaling, and why it's important. But I mean, when you're talking about sentience, you're talking about the capacity for well-being and the capacity to suffer, which, you know, I just think that's. I mean, wouldn't you agree that that's important, Todd?
I don't think that actually answered the question. Why are those emotional states privileged over the electrochemical similarities? Privileged over electrochemical communication, or biochemical communication, I should say.
Well, I mean, biochemical communication. I mean, that to me, that just sounds like it just sounds like a tool or something, you know, just a way to communicate. So that's not actually. I mean, that's not actually anything. I don't really see how that's relevant to establish whether something has value or not.
How is it not relevant?
Well, I don't understand how that. I mean, what value do you place on biochemical signaling in comparison to sentience? Sentience meaning everything that I just explained to you before.
Yeah. So what you're saying is because animals are sentient, we should weight that more heavily than.
I'm just asking you. I'm just asking you. I just really want to understand how you think. What value, do you place on biochemical signaling in comparison with sentience, meaning the ability to suffer and have ability for well-being as well? How do you compare the two? Like, where do you place this biochemical signaling on that scale of value?
About reason, place that lower than.
Sorry?
I say, given what I've already said about reason, I would place that lower than. But you see, what I was attempting to do, and I think again, thank you, Tim, for explaining this, is to show that the line of reasoning the vegans are using will inevitably lead to that conclusion. It's the same logic, the same rational, the same inferences are going to lead you to giving rights to plants.
Yeah.
Well, I think someone's echoing pretty badly, by the way, and I don't know who it is.
Right.
But I think what Emma's attempting to say here is that it's the subjectivity of sentience that gives it moral value. So the plants, whether or not they communicate through biochemical signaling or not, is irrelevant in regards to moral value because they don't have objective experience resulting in them being individuals.
Wait, I'm just gonna get my earphones just quickly, okay? Because if it is echoing, I can sort it out just fairly quickly. But I do have obviously something to add to that.
And then I guess Todd, you know, the next question could be, I could ask you the same question. So why is reason more valid in regards to determining moral value?
Yeah. This gets to a good question here. This whole sliding scale of knowing things, like knowing things like this, is that even an appropriate scale to use to have value? I don't think it's actually an appropriate scale because, as we've seen all along the line, the entire scale itself is arbitrary. So it's not a scale that I think is meaningful in this discussion.
You mean the scale You mean the scale in terms of attributing moral value?
The scale of attributing traits. Because, we go from reason to sentience to exchanges to just even existing, which is a trait. If we go by traits, then everybody's going to have to name a trait superior to something else. And whether you're higher or lower down on the traits hierarchy, it's going to appear too subjective to the guy that disagrees with you. If I use reason, the vegans will say it's inconsistent. But if the vegans use sentience, it's going to be inconsistent from the advocate of a plant's right advocate.
Well,
why are you privileging sentience over biochemical?
Because the world, I mean, if you don't have sentience, that nothing else would matter, because you wouldn't have any way to experience anything else. You wouldn't have any way to experience biochemical signaling. So it supersedes everything. Because otherwise, why does anything matter if you don't have sentience or subjective experience? Nothing would matter. Everything would just be objective, and unless there's a subject to experience everything, then nothing matters.
Emma, would you agree with the statement that sentient animals or sentient beings are subjects, non-sentient beings are objects?
Yeah. I guess. I don't know. Do you see any issues with that?
I would ask, when you said sentience was subjective experience, so we're operating on the same terms. What do you mean by subjective experience?
Well, if you don't have, if there's no way to experience subjectivity, that means you can't. It's just everything's like plants, matter, rocks. You need a subjective reality to be able to experience those things, i.e., sentience.
Yeah, the way you're using subject is not necessarily the way I would use it, because when I think of a subject versus an object, when I think of a subject, at least in this moral sense, a subject is someone reflect on the moral implications of what they're doing. Capacity to reflect on the moral implications of what they're doing.
Yeah,
when
and a plant doesn't have that ability, does it?
Well, neither does an animal. An animal, when it eats something, doesn't reflect on it or say, does it?
No, I mean, with carnivores, though, they don't think, oh, if I eat that zebra or whatever, then I'm going to feel really bad, because they can't be able. If they did that, they would just starve to death. Obviously, but humans.
There's a distinction between. Oh, okay.
Go on.
I was going to say you're confusing the capacity, or the need to do something, with the ability to reflect on that need. The ability to reflect on that need.
Right. Well, as humans, we don't need to eat animals. We can rationalize that we.
You're playing it again.
Okay, start again then. So from the top.
Okay. There's a distinction between to do something and the ability to reflect on that need.
Yeah. Okay, so you're saying lions don't have the capacity to reflect on that need. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah.
They do not.
Yeah. Okay.
Capacity to reflect on that need, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so that is where the value lies, not in sentience. That's what I'm saying. Can't feel pain, so that doesn't matter. So they're just non-moral entities. Lower moral entities. I mean, senseless destruction of the environment would be wrong, so there's some moral. It's a reduced moral commitment. Because they're not sentient. Well, I'm saying the same thing. Animals, it's not that they don't have any moral actions, but that they're lower.
Yeah, some animals don't have the capacity to conceptualize morality in that way, because if they did, they'd just starve to death like lions. And lions, you know, like they'll only kill when they're hungry. It's not like they just go around just killing everything in sight, because they, you know, obviously they do have some. I think they do have some capacity to moralize in some kind of context, but it's obviously they still need to eat, you know, other animals to survive. We shouldn't, you know, we can't as human beings. I don't see why we should base our morality on that of a lion, because we're completely different. Obviously, we can survive without eating flesh. So why shouldn't we? I mean, it's not.
We can think about doing it too, right?
We can think about what? Sorry.
We have different than the lion because what we're eating and why we're eating it.
Yeah, we can.
I think you would agree is one of the key differences, right?
Sorry, so you're very choppy, and I can't really make out what you're saying clearly. Can you just say that again?
I agree that choice is one of the important considerations.
We have a choice.
The lion can't choose to do anything. It's just determined to just do what it does.
Yeah.
Whereas humans have choice, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Go on.
This is another problem with the NTT. It's actually assuming that there is a different trait. Because when it says name the trait, assume we are different than animals. Because nobody would say to the lion, hey, NTT the zebra.
Well, yeah, but the thing is, they can't conceptualize that though. That's the thing. Like we can conceptualize these things, and we can survive without meat. So, you know, if we wouldn't want it done to ourselves, then how can we justify doing it to others? It's just like the golden rule. Do you know what I mean? Whereas lions can't conceptualize that; they'll starve to death. I mean, if I had the ability to, you know, make it so that lions don't, you know, kill anymore, then obviously I'd do that. But I don't have that ability. There's nothing I can do about it. But I can change my lifestyle myself. I can change my eating habits. I can quite easily, you know, eat plants for three times a day instead of flesh. That's quite easy for me to do. It's not easy for a lion to do that. They're never going to be able to do that. So you can't just base your morality on that of a lion just because they do it. That's just, I mean... No,
I'm not basing my morality on a lion, but what I'm saying is right there you've already assumed the trait that we're different than animals. Because...
I've assumed the trait?
To demonstrate you don't actually believe in.
Well, what do you mean, assumes the trait? What do you mean by that? Sorry.
Say name the trait. You're already assuming the very trait you're trying to name by asking the question.
Okay, what am I assuming? Am I saying...
Well,
I'm
we've been talking about now that humans can choose and animals can't. That's one trait. So by even asking the question to humans and not to animals, you're assuming that we are fundamentally different in some non-trivial way.
Yeah, of course we are. Yeah, of course I'm not saying that we're not different to animals. There's lots of different things that we're different to animals. Like we're just different. Of course, we're different from lions. We look different. We have different physiology. But all that aside, I mean, even if we are different in those sort of terms, it doesn't mean that we can just kill unnecessarily. Because if you didn't have, you know, if you didn't have those, I'm just trying to think of a trait. If you couldn't conceptualize, I don't know, morality, does that mean that it's okay to kill you?
Again, the question is malformed. Because, as I said, and as we did with the cow earlier, actual application of the latent trait, as you said, the lobotomized cow still shouldn't be eaten because under normal circumstances it would have these traits. Well, the lobotomized human shouldn't be murdered because under normal circumstances they would have these traits. It's the same thing. I mean, you're making the same inferences I am, lower level on the chain. I'm making the inferences at a higher level on the chain, from electrochemical communications to sentience to rationality. And you claim that I'm being inconsistent by rejecting value. Well, you're just as inconsistent by rejecting the plant's electrochemical biochemical exchanges.
No, we've already gone over this because I've defined what sentience is, and I've defined what a subjective reality is. Plants don't have that ability for a subjective experience, so we can write off plants. We don't need to discuss that.
Okay, well, we can write off animals. They can't choose. Boom.
No, it doesn't quite work like that because of this. I've defined sentience, and I've defined to you like well-being and the capacity for pain and suffering. So that's what we're talking about.
Plants have well-being too. I mean, would you think if you dropped a plant into a vat of toxic waste, its well-being would go up or down?
Well, they can't conceptualize their own well-being. That's the thing. They don't have a subjective reality. They can't. Sorry, Tim, were you going to?
So you're saying that animals can conceptualize the well-being. So if I step on an ant, they could conceptualize its well-being to me?
I think she's saying it's relevant to the ant. It might not be relevant to you, but it's relevant to the ant. Whereas with the plant, it's irrelevant to both you and the plant.
Sure, it'd be relevant to the ant because the ant couldn't even conceptualize that it got stepped on.
I mean, are you presupposing the ant dies instantaneously, or are you just presupposing the ant, even if, like, let's say instead of stepping on it, you rip the ant's legs off? Could it even conceptualize that?
Well, no, I mean, living organisms die. Plants die, humans die, animals die. Now, Banana Warrior Princess just gave an example of, plants could die, and in that way, any pain, or they don't feel anything relevant for her value system. Well, animals, when they die, achieving these human characteristics, lacking those, they lack the ability to have a meaningful response context to getting killed. In the same way, the plant would lack something meaningful when it gets killed for food.
Well, no, but they're two different contexts because plants, like I said, can't conceptualize reality. They don't have a subjective experience of their own well-being. Animals do. And the thing is, you're talking about insects and things like that. They obviously, insects are really low down on the scale of sentience compared to pigs, chickens, cows, fish. Okay, so I mean, we can talk about insects and stuff like that if you want, but I mean, we're talking about livestock animals, really, aren't we? Because we're talking about veganism. I'm vegan, you're not, obviously, and that's what we're having a debate about. These are the animals that are actually getting, killed. So
yeah, and like I said,
I think we should talk. I think we should talk about the livestock animals first and foremost.
One thing that is related to the pain principle, Shin's principle, the ability to feel pain. Do you think that an ethic pro-life? Because I think it would.
Hang on a second.
Whether or not the fetus is human is irrelevant for the vegan position. Because as long as it's sentient, can feel pain.
The thing is, we can go into that, but this is going off topic. I think we still need to hang on to this sentience thing because I don't think we're done here.
Just so you guys know, we're about 5 minutes away from being at an hour and a half.
Oh yeah, we might want to wrap that up then.
Yeah. Okay. I still think we.
What do you want to wrap it up with?
We've still got grounds to get on with this sentience thing. So I just don't think you're grasping it. And there was something I wanted to just play for you whilst we're live, but I set it up on OBS earlier on, but I can't seem to find it now. Just bear with me 1 second whilst I find it for you. Is that the one? No. Because basically, I mean, ultimately, these animals, they do have a capacity to suffer. They do feel pain. You can see it in their eyes. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you can see that they're having this experience, and you can share it with them. You can empathise with them. And name the trait is ultimately just a way to get you to empathise with animals. I mean, we don't tend to. We have pets, you know. I don't know if you've got any pets, but you know, they tend to be like dogs and cats, right? And they tend to be cute animals, big eyes. You know, the big eyes represent, you know, like the infant child. Like, you just want to take care of them, don't you? So we sort of empathise with those sort of cute animals first and foremost, because we recognise them as similar to ourselves, you know, in the infant state. We don't really sort of hang out with cows, pigs and chickens. We don't get to see them as similar to us, because we just don't recognise them. We just sort of think that they are just sort of automatons, and they don't really have any, they don't sort of demonstrate any behaviours that we recognise as being similar to ours. And I think because of that, we kind of lose, you know, we sort of lose touch with them a little bit, which is sad. I mean, what do you think about that? Do you agree?
Okay, sentience. Here's the thing. When you say subjective experience, the animal can't tell you anything about that experience, so how is that a subjective experience?
Well,
like if somebody hits you...
Just because they don't have language, doesn't mean they can't feel the same kind of emotions as you do. I mean, just because they can't talk, if you don't have the ability for language, doesn't mean that you can't feel emotions, does it? Do you not recognise that?
Well, no, we're talking about the ability to potency distinction again, because that's where we're going to end up going.
But you're talking in this really abstract way, but I don't think you're really sort of connecting with what I'm saying. And I really just want you to connect with it.
No, I understand why people empathize with animals, but you see, the question of...
I'm just going to put this footage up on the screen just so you can see. I don't know if you're watching your screen, but just have a look whilst you're talking, obviously.
People empathize with trees. First, you know, climbing up into trees.
Yeah, but I mean, they're not sentient, are they? I mean, look at these pigs, for instance. Yeah, I mean, they can't even turn around, and I mean, they're in these gestation crates for like 6 weeks while they're giving birth. They can't even turn around. They get sores and stuff. They're just in their own shit and squalor. I mean, obviously, this is this is to do with welfare and stuff. And even if it was really high welfare, I would still have to say, you know, it's still wrong to kill them, because they obviously want to live, don't they? And I just think it's wrong. You know, like, it's wrong to have your babies taken away from you. It's wrong to grind up, you know, chickens in blenders just because they're male, and these kinds of things.
Okay, using the same line of empathy, also wrong to kill fetuses even if they're unwanted?
Well, I mean, that's a grey area, okay. They have the
capacity to feel pain.
Listen to me. I do have something to say about that, okay. I do want to follow up on your question. But I just want you to sort of look at what you're seeing on the screen here, okay? I mean, can we talk about this before we go into like fetuses and stuff like that? Because obviously these animals are suffering. You know, I mean, pigs they have an intelligence of like a 3-year-old child. They're actually more intelligent than the dogs. You know, like in what they can do. You know, do you think do you think this is right? Can you say that this is ethical?
Yeah, well,
what you're seeing on screen here is this ethical?
Yeah. You mentioned about how to raise animals for stock. Yeah, I think that's an unethical way to raise them for stock. Breeding them out in the open would be more ethical. That's a separate question from whether they should be eaten or not.
Well, no,
I mean, you're giving them at an individual level some moral value.
Point is that animals, or even the environment, has zero moral value. The debate is place moral value on these entities and what conclusions of behavior we draw from them.
Well, I mean, listen, I just want you to answer the question as I'm asking it. Do you think that what you're seeing on the screen here Is that ethical?
I already said no. Factory farming should be. They should be farmed differently,
and you can see
like
that
they were before.
But you can see that these animals are suffering, can't you? You can see that they are suffering.
That's the difficult question, because if you look at scientific studies, it's not clear whether they are suffering or not.
You honestly think that what you're seeing on the screen here is not suffering? You think they're happy?
So you have a computer program and somebody is yelling, screaming, saying that they're getting hit.
Okay, pigs. Look, if you see how cramped they are, like when these pigs grow up, they're just kept in like squalor, okay, and they're just cramped in a room. They bite each other's tails off, but out of boredom. They have been shown to be as intelligent as 3-year-old children.
Well, let's go to the other area. Fetuses. I mean, do you want to have a scissor shammed in?
Well, yeah, we can. Like I said,
your head?
we can go into that. But can you just please?
Well, hold on.
Can you just please, Todd? Can you tell me whether you
you're the
think?
One making moralistic
No. Because look, can you see that these animals are actually suffering on the screen here? Because if you're not, I think you're just denying reality. This is just. I don't understand how you can say.
Well, do you deny that fetuses suffer when they get scissors slammed into their head?
I don't know. Perhaps after a certain period, they become more sentient. Okay, there's going to be like within a few.
So it's okay to kill them.
But Todd, if you believe that, doesn't it logically follow that you should ascribe that same value to animals anyway?
No. I'm using the vegan logic here. I'm assuming veganism.
Okay,
no.
Thank you for clarifying. So you don't necessarily believe that then?
No, this is for sake of argument. If you're a vegan, you also have to be pro-life. Necessarily, you're causing unwarranted harm to fetuses.
Right. Well, it depends. I mean, it depends what stage of the pregnancy you're at. Obviously, it's a cut-off point where the fetus becomes sentient, and I don't think that's right, myself personally. But I mean,
you think after the cutoff point, you shouldn't do it, but before that, there is a cutoff point.
Well, possibly. I don't really know enough about it, to be honest with you. I've never needed to have an abortion myself, so I never really thought about it that much. I mean, I don't know the full stage of the fetus, so I don't think that's relevant to this argument, to be honest with you, because what we're talking about here is animals, okay? I want you to concede that these animals can have the ability to suffer, and you're saying that they do not have the ability. It sounds to me that you're saying that they don't have the ability to suffer. Is that what you're saying? Is that what you're really saying, Todd?
No. Well,
no. Okay. So you do agree that they do suffer then? You do agree that they do suffer, yes?
The same way we do. Yes, but not in the same way we do.
Not in the same way that we do. What's happening on the screen here now?
Let me ask you this. Can an animal tell you that it's suffering?
No. Does that mean that they don't suffer because they can't tell us? Their voices.
Linguistically, can they tell us that they're suffering?
Some animals can suffer.
Yeah, okay.
But
look at the pig on the screen. Do you think it's having a good time? It looks like it's in pain.
Do you think fetuses are having a good time when they get cut to pieces?
Probably not, no. But how is that relevant to? Well, I'm not talking about.
It is relevant because
we're not having a debate. We're not having a debate about abortion. We're having a debate about veganism. So abortion is not relevant.
Do we, for the sake of argument, assume that Emma is opposed to abortion? Devoid of any, just for the sake of moving the argument forward, because I feel like it's a bit of an irrelevant argument to make that because she might agree that abortion is ethical in some instances, therefore it means she's being inconsistent in her ethics towards animals, and I just don't think that follows.
Well, I don't think that it follows that since animals aren't rational, eating them is inconsistent with my value system. Not irrational either. I'm using the same kind of inference as you are. We're just placing it on different levels of the hierarchy.
Well, it sounds to me like you're trying to say that animals can't suffer, so it's okay.
No. Animals, when we say that humans suffer, what we mean is that we have, among other things, that we have the capacity to articulate.
Yes. Yeah.
Experience.
We're way more sentient than most other animals. I agree with you there. Okay.
I don't think that's sentience. That's more the level of reason.
Yeah, more level of reason, more intelligence, whatever you want to say. But that does not mean to say that it's okay to kill animals because they can still suffer. and they still have a capacity for well-being as well. Probably not to the same extent as us humans can, but is that a reason to kill them? Is that reason enough to kill them per se?
I said, I mean, plants have a nature of well-being as well. Is that a reason to kill them?
No, because they don't have a subjective.
We're at an hour and 35 right now. Do you guys want to wrap it up? Because I feel like we're going to go into circles.
That sounds good.
Well,
so Todd, do you want to start by giving some closing remarks, and then Emma, since it's your stream, you can give the final remarks.
Sure. I'd like to thank Emma for having me on. I will say though that the NTT has not been demonstrated to be true anyway. It is invalid in structure with false premise, I need to say.
Well, is that all you have to say? Todd, is that all you have to say? Sorry, I can't hear you.
Yeah, that was all I had to say.
Yeah, okay. Well, I mean, you're saying that, the name and trait argument has false premises, but it's weird. That sounds odd to me, because you said at the start that, you think humans are of moral value. You've bootstrapped those ethics. You have to then extend those same rights to animals, unless you can point to a difference between them, which, if that difference was present in the humans instead of the animal, would justify, murdering humans in the same way that you're saying that you propose to do for animals. And you haven't really named a trait that would justify doing that. And you're saying, and also you just equated like animals, humans, all on the same level as, like plants, rocks. I don't know if you think that rocks are the same as plants, but like plants aren't sentient. Okay. You're never going to prove that plants are sentient. They don't have the capacity to feel pain or suffering. They don't have a capacity for well-being because they don't have a subjective experience. They're not sentient. So, it's you haven't really refuted veganism in any way, shape, or form. It's unnecessary to eat meat. It's animals, obviously, as you can see on the screen, they are suffering. Any normal person can see that. I don't need to explain to you how they are suffering. I mean, animals can just run away. If they are in danger, they'll just run away. If they can't conceptualize danger, then why would they do that? I mean, that is proof enough. I mean, there's loads of other things I could go into, but they obviously can feel pain and they can feel suffering. They have the capacity for well-being. Maybe not the same capacity for well-being that humans have, but that's not reason enough to kill them. Just because you like the taste of their flesh. When there's so many different options that there's so many other things that you can eat. There's everything else you can eat. So I'm just saying, if you have any consideration for animals whatsoever, there's no reason to kill them because there's other options. Yeah, that's what I would say about that. I think that's all I need to say. Tim, anything you want to add?
I just want to say thanks again for having me on to moderate, and thanks Todd for coming in and doing this conversation with Emma. I guess the one thing we can take away from this is, at the very least, Todd agrees that factory farming isn't necessarily ethical in practice, and so that's maybe something we could focus on and arguing together against. And that, I think that was a pretty good debate. You guys got into a little bit of a circle for a minute there, but for the most part, I think hopefully we all understand each other's positions a little bit better.
Yeah, thanks, Tim. Thanks, Todd, as well. Sorry I got a little bit angry there, but
No, I did
it's
too.
just frustrating.
Sorry about that too.
It's all right. Yeah, thanks. For
and one last thing, if you don't mind, everyone should check out Sail Ranch Sanctuary's YouTube page and subscribe. Me and Chris Hines will be doing next month a charity fundraiser for this sanctuary that works with abused and neglected animals. So Todd, if you think that moral value, then certainly you'd agree that they shouldn't be abused or neglected, and so perhaps this is something that even you'd be interested in. So please, if everyone could, just go check that out and subscribe to their channel, because that really helps us promote them more. And it's just as valuable to us as a monetary donation to get subscriptions.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, I'll see if I can link the channel in the description once this video is uploaded as well, after the stream has ended. And Yeah, also, Tim, is that there's going to be a 24-hour live stream, isn't there? Is any
Yeah,
information
exactly. Me and
come
Chris are
out?
going to be doing a
Yeah,
24-hour live stream on November 4th. It's going to start at 10 a.m. Pacific time.
yeah, sounds awesome. I'm going to be on it as well from I think 11 till 12 p.m. with Jerry Carbstrong, just talking about street activism and stuff, and street interviews. So that'll be kind of cool. So yeah, yeah, thanks Todd for coming on. I'm just going to answer a few questions in the chat now. So yeah, if you want to dip out, Todd, that's fine. Tim, I don't know if you want to stay on or if you want to go or what you want to do, but
I'll stick around. I'm
yeah,
going to step away. I'm going to be AFK for a few minutes, but I'll stick
yeah,
around.
that's
I'll jump
cool.
back in a minute.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, thanks, Todd. Thanks for coming on. I'll chat to you later. Oh,
Take
Bye bye.
care.
oh, yeah, bye bye. Cool. Right, I think I'll just I'll stop this footage and I'll take some questions from the chat. So let's go to there and
So you're not live
let's.
anymore, right?
I am still live. Yeah, I'm just going to take some questions from the chat
Okay,
and then
I'm gonna dip out now.
yeah, that's
Okay, thanks
cool.
for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. All right, have a good rest of your day. Okay, so let's just uh, let's just have me on the screen instead of that footage there. And yeah, I don't know if I mean I put out something on Patreon saying if anyone of my Patreons wants to come on and discuss the debate after the stream, they can. But I didn't have anyone back. But I don't know if anyone in the chat wants to come on. I'll send you the old the Google Hangouts link if you want to come on. But yeah, has anyone got any questions? Or what did people think of that debate? I don't know how it went. I think it kind of sucked, to be fair, but I don't know. The thing is, I'm not really that experienced with debates. They always just turn into shouting matches with me. Um, it does get quite frustrating, and it's very different from doing street activism as well because obviously I come from a place where I'm used to just talking to people in the street, or I do Keep a Truth events as well, which you've probably seen. You know, like Joey Carbstrong and people like James Aspey do a lot of. And it's a lot easier because you're just playing footage on the screen, and it's difficult for people to argue, you know, with what they're seeing on the screen. You can't deny that animals are suffering, and it's a lot easier. It's a lot easier than debating someone on YouTube. So let's see what we have here. So I've got a few mentions here. So Morpheus says, "What does Fuego feel like?" I don't know. What's Fuego? I don't even know how you pronounce that. Fuego. Free. I don't know. Morpheus, can you elaborate on that? I don't really know what you mean there. Abortion, though, yeah. It's funny how people. This happens a lot with carnists. You know, they just sort of go on different tangents. Like they want to talk about abortion. They want to talk about they want to just make you as the vegan feel that you're not doing enough, or they want to make you feel guilty to place. It's just projection, basically. They just want you to feel guilty so that they don't have to feel guilty. So yeah, when people just go off on tangents like that, especially on abortion, that just drives me absolutely crazy. I won't stand for that because they're just avoiding, you know, it just means they're avoiding the actual argument, the crux of the argument. And we're talking about livestock animals. We are essentially talking about Holocaust, which is unjustified on a mass scale, you know. So let's see, what else do we have here? I wonder if I can actually put the chat up on the screen somehow. Probably not. Cells. I think I know you from Discord if you're the same person. If beavers can build a rocket ship to the moon, does that mean that plants are the same as humans? That's a good question. I really don't have any answer for that. If beavers can build a rocket ship to the moon, can they actually do that? I don't know. Yeah, it's kind of weird. It's kind of weird how I don't know, like the plants thing. He actually went into that a little bit on his live stream as well. He mentioned mushrooms and he mentioned peas, and yeah, he went into a little bit of. I think they went into a little bit about the what was it, the biochemistry signaling or something like that. I don't know.
All right, I'm back.
Yeah, what did you? I'm just going through some of the chat questions, Tim.
Yeah, it was my ability to self-regulate, because I get what he's saying, but he's misinformed on the cognitive capacity of animals.
Yeah, the rationality and that kind of thing. I'm just gonna I'm just gonna send the link to.
And I think he's giving them credit for.
Yeah.
And one thing, there was a couple things that I was trying to pose questions that would lead us down maybe particular avenues I was really trying hard not to present arguments myself.
Yeah.
I feel like I failed a little bit, but it's hard to separate, my personal convictions from the moment. But it's a great exercise. If anyone ever moderates a debate, and it's a great opportunity to try to be completely objective. You understand the other person's point a lot better because you're forcing yourself to try to find merit in it. That being said, like when I asked you about trying to differentiate between the biochemicals and sentience, the reason why I would ask that question is, for me, it's the individuality of it. Like plants don't operate as individuals. They have no sense. I don't want to use the word self because that's too specific, but they have no understanding of their perspective in the world. Now, they can operate biochemically, sure, but that they don't have any sense of individuality. Most, like a sea sponge almost certainly doesn't have a sense of individuality, but a pig certainly does. Not only does a pig have a sense of their individuality, they actually have a sense of themselves and are able to reflect on that sense of self. And they're able to reason. I mean, I could give you all sorts of anecdotes and scientific research that suggests they're able to reason at a pretty
they do
good job explaining that it's a subjective experience, and that since plants lack that subjective experience.
Do you think I don't know, did I make myself clear enough on that point? I don't know, maybe I didn't.
I think you did, yeah. I think you did. I think it's one of those things where for both of you to go back and listen to this and try to see how could have I changed the way I presented my information such that it would have made it more clear. It's so hard to do that in the moment. It's so hard to self-analyze your argument in the moment.
It really is in the heat of the moment, isn't it? Because you just want to get your point across, and if they're not hearing your point, and then you have to sort of think of what they're saying, and you can't really conceptualize it because you're just so hell-bent on just getting your point across. It's so hard to do in the moment.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And that's why I think it's almost good to have a moderator, not just, just so they can act as an interpreter from time to time when things are going off the rails.
Yeah. I'm just having a look at some other questions here. Just need to go back a little bit because I think I've missed a few. I think Isaac said he might come on. I sent him the link. Blue Morpho wants to come on as well. Maybe I'll send her the link. Let's see, what else do we have here? Get Isaac on. Yeah, well, I've sent him the link. He's welcome to come on if he wants. I don't know if I done it. I don't know if I did a good enough job of explaining Name the Trait. But I mean, did you see that video he did today, Tim?
Yeah, I was hoping it would get off Name the Trait. Like I was almost thinking about interjecting and saying, let's change the topic, but that's all he wanted to talk about.
I know. It was kind of annoying because I wanted to talk about so many more things.
Yeah, it would have been nice to try to push him into more of a subjective opinion and a more subjective position. Like, how does he get his moral value? Like, from what does his concept of moral value? And then you could try to like kind of push him into talking about his Christian values and seeing if that with what's going on with animals.
Fucking total cringe fest.
Isaac.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing well.
Well, yeah,
Jesus Christ.
I don't think it was necessary to go into like the whole Christianity thing, because I think if they were Christian, then obviously they already know that there's humans have moral value. So why can't they just extend that to animals? You don't need to.
Right. Yeah, that's a fair point. Yeah. Yeah, we can hear you. I can hear you.
I had both of them playing. That was a complete cringe fest. Oh my god.
I knew that it would be, but.
Yeah, is my sound okay? No echo, no weirdness?
It's good, I think.
It's nice and loud? It's good?
Yeah, no, you sound good.
It's got a nice tone to it.
Okay, sweet. Yeah, that was just unbelievably cringy. You got like rocket ships, though, poetry, though, capacity to reason after brain alteration, though. And that person's a Christian. They were trying to go into free will for a little bit and saying, oh, if it's a deterministic universe, then
how's
I don't
relevant?
have a choice but to eat a burger.
How the hell is that relevant to name
Pardon me?
traits? It's got nothing to do with it. Like, how does that fit into the equation?
He was making an argument based on what his perception of what most vegans believe in. So, like, that's why he would bring up things like, first he'd bring up determinism, because there's a fair amount of vegans who I think follow deterministic beliefs. And then there's abortion. Same thing. He's making an argument based on what he thinks most vegans believe.
The determinism thing is a total red herring. Unless you accept a murderer getting off of murder by saying, well, I mean, it was determined, then you can't really use that in other contexts, right?
Totally. And besides the fact, society's created, like, part of determinism is you're affected by your environment, and society's created an environment where accountability is a positive trait. So you have to hold yourself accountable for your actions. That's part of what results in you being deterministically influenced by your environment.
Well, yeah, I mean, whether there's fucking free will or determinism or, randomness or whatever you want to go for, it's like, or abolishing the concept of personal responsibility. And unless you're advocating that, then why the fuck are we even talking about this?
Right.
Thing. It's like, yeah, I mean, obviously abortion is incredibly immoral once the thing is sufficiently sentient. I mean, this is pretty easy to map out. Like, does anyone have a problem with killing a bundle of cells that isn't sentient?
No.
Have a problem with killing a fully formed human baby that's 1 day away from being born?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Maybe at some point during the development, it becomes wrong to kill that thing.
Right. And I think Emma even mentioned that.
Vegan, like pro-abortion all the way through, would be an inconsistent position, but I don't know that many people who hold that position, and those who do, I just make fun of them for being retarded.
And again, he's making an argument on behalf of, if it's Emma making that argument.
I thought he was he for most of that. Till I noticed you were calling him Todd, and then I was like, oh, geez, it's a man.
Yeah. I thought you guys were saying that as a joke to me.
I saw like someone a kid or something. How old was that guy?
Well, I saw somebody asking in the chat how old he was. I'm not really sure, to be honest with you, but
teenagers, probably like 14 or something. I mean, it would explain the stupidity. I mean, just so many like cringy failures. Like every time you asked him something, he'd go off point. And
who would answer the question?
This one he tried to say that it's on you to prove that there's no trait. And it's like, whoa, no. You've already bootstrapped ethics for humans. So someone can say, I choose to bootstrap ethics for animals. So they're bootstrapping. You need to come up with an argument that's not also going to reject your bootstrapping of human ethics.
Yeah, I thought I was going mad because I thought I was explaining that. But he just wasn't getting it. I don't know. Was I explaining it okay? I don't know.
Well, it could have maybe been explained a little better, but you were still like pretty good. Like, I mean, he was being pretty evasive. It was pretty obvious.
Well, that's the thing. It was just so annoying when he wasn't answering the questions.
Oh yeah, he wouldn't answer the questions. And things like this is a habit that really, really annoys me. Like, I would have probably ended up yelling at that guy. Like, when people start saying like, "Oh, you're conflating," or like, "I'll describe how," it's like, okay, just using words like that is not an argument. You fucking idiot.
Yeah.
Amazed you actually managed to keep, for the most part, your calm. People like that drive me fucking nuts. Just the level of dishonesty is insane. And I saw a few stream, or their little breakdown, and it was like he was trying to say that I believe in objective morality, and I don't know how many times I'm going to have to say that I don't believe in objective morality for these idiots to get it through their head. Just saying that an argument is an argument. It's not demonstrating shit.
It's kind of like if they can say that, you believe in objective morality, then they don't have to go through naming the trait. They don't have to do any of that, because it's just like, haha, I got you, so, I don't have to answer your questions now. It's just like such a childish move. It's just like a playground tactic.
I mean, basically, it seems like he's trying to use reason as the trait he would name, but he had a threshold for what he would say is enough reasoning. Animals are certainly capable of reason.
And reason produces the hilarious, weird consequences. I mean, you'd have to bootstrap rights for some non-sentient computers, and you'd have to take away rights from.
I was thinking that too, like Watson, killing it in Jeopardy.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's computers that can reason at a higher level than humans in a lot of specific domains. Like, anyone who's kind of looked a little into AI would know this. Like, we have computers that can do facial recognition better than humans. I mean, a calculator can do math, just calculating a human by a long shot. So, I mean, does this guy want to bootstrap ethics for calculators? I don't think he's actually thinking of the consequences of what he's saying.
Yeah, and I even brought up the senility aspect of it, and to that point, it became pretty clear to me it's the argument from species normality that he's making. You just treat the species normal for what it usually is expected to do. Yeah. And I'm like, there's that argument that have been pretty thoroughly refuted in actual philosophical literature.
You can break down species normality in a sentence. Just switch it to humans are the outliers.
Right. Yeah. That's a good point.
Humans, you're the outlier. Every other human's irrational. Is it just okay to murk you now?
Right.
Is it okay to Holocaust? If not, then don't appeal to species normality. You're contradicting yourself.
Yeah, because there's always going to be outliers. There's always going to be exceptions, isn't there? In every.
But the species normality argument is the idea that the moral value. It's a collectivist argument, really. It's the idea that the moral value that we assign to creatures depends on the species. So if you were to say, animals on average are not capable of reason, are capable of reason, and the humans who aren't, they're just covered by the, general character of the species, by the normal behavior of the species. Okay, well, we're not normally like that, but you still had outliers who are as rational as you or I. Is it okay to just kill those people? Talking super basic failures here, poetry, though? He said poetry, though, at one point.
Yeah, that was funny, too, because that's when I was actually...
most people can't write fucking poetry. Most poets suck at poetry. So,
right.
I mean, you're just advocating a global genocide when you try to use poetry as the trait.
I've been trying to, that was me trying to get him to give the threshold, the most basic...
Yeah, it's
enough reasoning would be considered, and that's what he went to. He went from computer programming to poetry.
It's almost as if his standards for, moral value are just so high. No, it's just how is that? How is that fair? How is that ethical?
Well, and I was responding by just dealing with just having reason or not having reason in a kind of dichotomous way. But if you want to play the threshold game, it's find the threshold where it's going to cover all humans and not cover some animals. You can't, obviously, because you can point to things like pigs that have higher rationality than certain humans.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So you can't really play that game. You're never going to win at that game.
Some level of overlap if you try to do that no matter what. I mean, this is, some people were telling me to debate these guys, and I'm fucking glad I didn't, because I would have gotten frustrated, and it would have just been a complete waste of time, and it would have given that retarded channel just unnecessary attention.
Yeah, a bit like how it works with Friend Ed. It's like I'm
I mean, I was friending a little bit during that, to be honest. I was losing attention at some points, because that person was just rambling, and they wouldn't address anything you said. You had to push so hard just to get a condemnation of factory farming.
Yeah.
And the condemnation was half-assed, this is wrong, but if we killed them differently, it would be okay. It's proposing killing them. If we propose killing you that way, are you going to say that's ethical Slaughter?
Yeah, it would have been great to get further into that. Just like what is the now we're getting into the threshold game again. Like what's the threshold of between the farming you accept and factory farming? Like how do we get to what you accept?
Where is the point that slaughter is considered ethical? Sure that he's not going to say that it's ethical to bolt gun him in the head and stab him to death. Let's put it that way. Even if he lives a nice life in a prairie.
But he can reason.
He can reason. I guess therefore he has rationality or he has moral value, and humans who can't reason don't have moral value. So we can just throw the retarded in Auschwitz, and calculators or logistics AIs, they have moral value, and if we smash those computers, we're evil.
No, but you have to treat them as if they could reason, because what's normal for them is
because species normality, though. Yeah, true. Funny. This is just intellectual caliber of our opponents here. So, I mean, if there's any silver lining, it's that we're definitely going to win the public debate.
Well, yeah, I've just this just reminds me actually, like the thing is with these carnists, they try and make the arguments so complicated, so overcomplicated. But really, it should be like it should be like a really straightforward.
By trying to... Sorry.
Like it should be like this. Look, this pyramid thing on the screen here. It should be like to refute carnism, right? It is sort of like it's an outright refute, isn't it? It's just so easy. But when it comes to a carnist trying to refute veganism, they never refute the central point.
Oh.
Can you see what's on the screen here?
Yeah, I can see it now.
Yeah. It's just
yeah. I mean, it
should be easy to refute it. It should be just like a few simple sentences. But it's not.
And the thing is, when people go to like these unnecessary levels of philosophical complexity, that actually indicates stupidity to me, because a smart person who knows philosophy knows how to express those concepts in simple terms for a layman. To actually articulate your argument in simple words, to me, that's not proving that you're smart. That's proving that you're stupid.
Yeah, exactly. Like what I was trying to say to them.
I could use big fucking polysyllabic words and make a video no one's going to understand. I don't do that for a reason. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's just so simple. I mean, like I was saying, I've just started reading this Ethics for Dummies book, because I want to understand all this terminology. I got it like at the charity shop. And it says, like, in the first two pages, whether you think an action is moral or immoral will depend on your values and the ethical arguments that you use to decide what is right. That's basically the bootstrapping ethics thing, isn't it, that you always go on about?
You're cutting out a little too much for me to make out what you're saying.
Oh, that was happening with you earlier on as well. Did you hear any of that?
No, but I hear you now, if you want to say it again.
Yeah, so I just read him a paragraph from the book. Within the first 2 pages, it says, whether you think an action is moral or immoral will depend on your values and the ethical arguments you use to decide what is right.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So that's what I was trying to explain to him, but he just wouldn't understand, so...
Well, yeah, I mean, bootstrapping ethics is just saying that some creature has moral value, in your opinion. And once you bootstrap ethics for humans, now we're not having a debate. The second that you've bootstrapped ethics... Stuff about meta-ethics becomes a red herring. Now it's about whether veganism follows logically from the ethics that you've already bootstrapped. Trying to get vegans to bootstrap animal ethics is just retarded. Because for human ethics to be bootstrapped, all you said was, I'm going to value humans. And if you want to play that game, we can just use the vegan gains move and just go name the trait in reverse. Find the justification for bootstrapping human ethics that isn't going to also bootstrap animal ethics.
Exactly.
Humans properly.
Yes, it works both ways, basically.
I would literally just be running in circles around this guy at a speed that he can't even keep up with. It would have been like a cringe fest.
Yeah, but you're a lot better at doing debates than I am. This is just practice for me.
I mean, you still, there's just always a lot to fucking learn for anyone. But what I really appreciate that you were doing in there is you weren't falling for the weird ethical terminology game. No. You're like, no. Break what you're saying down into simple terms.
Yeah, because
it should be something that I can understand. You saying something that I don't understand is not a fucking argument. That was the basic argument that I was hearing from you. So.
Yeah, because obviously if I can't understand it how's my audience going to understand it? And if he wants to persuade people not to be vegan, how the fuck are they going to understand what he's talking about? I mean, it's just so overly complicated.
I don't know. It's funny, like I had a video posted at me the other day of some guy who thinks that he's refuted name the trait, and he's put it into propositional logic, and he's telling me my argument fails. And it's like, okay, I don't know how to read this. So if you want to put this into English, I'll tell you if you've got my argument correct or not.
Oh, is that
but the guy won't put it in.
Is that the ethical, what's his face person?
Non-ethical.
Yeah, that's it.
It's like
a really boring video.
It's so funny. Swayze and her retarded fans are acting like I'm like avoiding the video. It's like I'm not even remotely avoiding it. I'm literally just waiting for the guy to put it into English. Because right now, it's effectively Chinese to me. I don't know what he's saying because I can't read that notation. Put it in English, and I'll give you my opinion. And my bet would be that the reason he doesn't want to put it in English is because the second it's in English, I'm going to be able to spot what he's doing wrong. People will do this kind of stuff where they try to just talk in a language that you can't understand instead of actually making a coherent point against your position.
And then they think they've won the argument because you can't understand it, which is just fallacious.
Pardon?
Well,
I mean, here's someone who's posted his formula here, and it's like, I don't know what that says. I mean, like, I have some rough idea. It's like P and negation of Q and S implies negated P. But, like, I don't know how the fuck he's getting my argument into that. I don't want to fucking try to read it like that. It's like, just say it in English, and I'll tell you if you're getting my argument proper or not.
Well, if they can't even say it in English, it kind of makes me wonder, do they even understand what the fuck they're talking about? They can't say it in plain English?
It makes me think that there's a good chance they're just relying on the notion that you can't read what they've said. Because, I also get people, wait, who's saying that's crowd sleep? English doesn't translate well into, well, I mean, I don't even know what he's saying. So I don't know if English translates well into it or not. I can't have an opinion if I can't read it.
Exactly, yeah.
And the guy, it's so funny. The guy's like, well, live stream with me then. It's like, I don't know what you're saying. I literally don't even know what your position is, and you're some random anon. I'm not giving you attention. Like, put your argument into English, and I'll look at it, and then I'll consider live streaming with you. Argument intelligible to me. Why the fuck would I platform you? Got Swayze and her retarded fans acting like that is somehow me avoiding debate. Oh, and I saw her posting bigger channels. It's like you're just such an idiot. Do you even look at my debate history? Do you look at the people I talk to? Bigger channel than I do?
You cut off a little bit there. It was a bit choppy.
That's okay. I was just saying, Swayze and her retarded fans are suggesting that on some level scared of debating that guy or something. It's like, no, I mean, I just want to see his argument in English, then I'll determine what I want to do.
Yeah, it's not really fair.
They're also that she makes a post on Twitter, something along the lines of like, interesting how he only wants to debate larger channels. And it's like, you'd think that someone who claims to be a rationalist would actually look through my debate history and find out if that's true or not. I don't only debate larger channels. I tend to only debate channels who are over a certain threshold, but not necessarily who are only larger than me. Literally just she makes these random statements on the internet without even checking to see if they're true. Like, she's implied I'm a racist. She's telling me that channels without checking my debate history. She's telling me my argument is false without being able to explain why. Then when she slightly attempts to explain why and I refute it, she just fucking ignores it. It's like, it's retarded. It's unbelievable.
She's digging herself into a bigger hole, isn't she?
She's just become the butt of my jokes at this point. I mean, like, anyone with a brain can tell she's wrong. I still am waiting to see a single argument from any one of her viewers. I mean, go look through my videos. See if you can spot one. I'll give you fucking $20. There aren't any.
I could do a $20 right now. This
idiot, Dr. Singer. This guy in your chat is probably one of the stupider people I've seen on the internet. I debunked it in words. Check it out on the comments. No, you didn't debunk shit. You're a fucking moron.
I haven't actually looked at the chat recently. Oh, Dr. Singer, is that what you're talking about? Okay, yeah.
Idiots.
Yeah.
It's like, learn to just make a proper argument, and I will respond to a proper argument.
Oh my god, Morpheus has just put something I can't read.
Pardon me?
Morpheus, human value P plus something, the
try to
negation of
understand
what the
that
fuck. Yeah, exactly. Like,
if you can't articulate your shit, Dr. Singer, you're talking about someone who's stupid enough to say something like animals and humans are different, therefore they're differentiated. It's like, no, that doesn't mean they're differentiated ethically, you absolute retard. Masses out there. I mean, I don't know what I can say.
Well, I mean, I think I did enough to put my point across, and I think
you clearly won that debate. I don't think it was much of a challenge.
It wasn't really a difficult one, but I mean, it was frustrating. That was all. It was frustrating because I didn't really have a fucking clue what he was talking about sometimes, and I just wanted to say my piece, and I couldn't get a word in edgeways, and I got angry, but it's all good. And thanks Tim for helping me out there. I'm glad I got Tim on actually, because I knew this would happen. I knew he would just like say some shit that just would go over my head. So, but yeah, it is completely different to just talking to just normal people, you know, just normal everyday people on the street.
I think that has to do with like the people on the street aren't coming in ready for an argument they're gonna make. Like they're not, and he came in, you know, wanting to win this argument. And
also, I didn't get to ask him. I didn't get to ask him about this utilitarianism thing that he wanted to talk to me about. He was going to make an argument for why it's something to do with. Where's my notes here? Hang on, I've written down what he messaged me. Before the stream.
It's funny. Name the Trade isn't a utilitarian argument for maximizing well-being. It's just that's again just like a misunderstanding.
Maybe that's just like, you know, some vegans make that kind of argument, but I'm not one of them, so I don't think that would have been relevant. If you'd brought that up, I wouldn't have.
I think that there is like there are good utilitarian arguments for veganism. I mean, you can talk about suffering reduction and make a case from that. Like, I prefer just making my case from contradiction and just pointing out, you know, the arguments that you would use to deny animal rights are just going to produce contradiction. Yeah,
exactly. It's always rights first, and then the consequences of the actions or whatever secondary. You know, like to reduce the most amount of suffering in the world and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, that always, I think, should come secondary.
You just got $20 from Simon.
Oh, thank you very much, Simon. Here you go, $20. Wow. Oh, is that because I said I could do with $20 right now? Wow, thanks very much. That's great. Well, actually, what's that? Rube 1, or whatever that is. It's $20. So yeah, thanks very much. And also, I was going to ask him, because he wanted to say he was going to give some moral and logical justifications for humans to eat flesh, and I didn't get to hear what those were. So I was just, you know, I was interested to hear what they were going to be, but I guess we'll never know.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like these people are just idiots. It's like I've never seen someone who actually understands the argument present any kind of refutation. Oh, some guy's telling me to do more debates. Well, I mean, I'm happy to debate people, but just haven't had any come up lately.
Yeah, this is the first one I've done in a while. I did the last one previous to this was with the Atheist Republic guy. He just
I didn't catch that.
Oh god,
but that was pretty cringy.
No,
personally,
that one was brutal.
From someone who's got any kind of like credibility. I mean, if they're an anon and they're actually saying something really coherent and interesting, I might consider it. But like generally speaking, I only talk to people who actually have some level of platform. Like, I mean, I get hit up by fucking randomly.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to talk to anyone really about it. So,
and you never know when people are just trying to take you for a ride anyway. Like,
well, and a lot of them just want to get attention and just want to get subs.
Yeah, just like, well, I don't know about Friended, but I had a suspicion that that's what he wanted to, because he's always trying to cause more controversy and get on all these streams and stuff, and just constantly making more videos to respond to you, Isaac. I mean, because he knows that they're going to get attention, but
it's Friended. I have no idea.
It's fair enough if that's what he wants to do. Then that's absolutely fine. I mean, veganism will always be controversial and always get a lot of traction. So
it'll always be controversial. You said?
Yeah, it will always generate a lot of talk and a lot of traction online. So
it becomes more normal. Like, I mean, I've said this before, but I think veganism is going to follow the same trajectory as like atheism or anti-feminism. It's just going to eventually get to a point that we've just murked these people so badly in so many places. Laughing stock on YouTube.
And we've said this before, that we all need to just sort of get organised and start having more of these debates, which is obviously what I'm trying to do. This is why I'm doing more debates, and just to get the practice in, really, because the more that we bring this out into the open, the more people are going to hear about it, and it's just the more normal it's going to become,
Yeah, totally. Yep. Yeah, and I think, I don't know, just the more people we destroy, it's just the more history we build of veganism refuted. Yeah,
we're part of history. We're history in the making right now.
Well, I don't care about it from that kind of like ego gratification angle of like, oh, we're like going down in history or something. But
I'm just trying to inspire other people to do it.
Sure. Yeah. Fair enough.
And I didn't actually get to talk about my T-shirt on the screen.
Yeah. What's with the T-shirt?
Well, Nick designed it for me. It's basically this book that I'm going to be responding to and reviewing. It's called The Ethical Carnivore, and he's kind of played around with the logo a little bit more. So on the front of the book, it's got the fork and the knife crossing over, and then the antlers to represent kind of like traditional kind of hunting, that kind of thing. And he's put a little skull underneath to represent death. And then on the actual book, it has my year killing for food, right? But he's just put it as my year killing.
Around, he switched the animal skull to a human skull and just
So that's it. So it's just like a skull and crossbones, basically. But I just think it's quite funny because the ethical carnivore is kind of like, it's an oxymoron, really, isn't it? Ethical and carnivore.
Did you say it's an oxymoron?
Well, yeah, because if you're a carnivore, you can't really conceptualize sort of ethics and things, can you? Anyway, but
you
ethical carnivore,
conceptualize them, but you just it's just an oxymoron because like you don't need. Well, I mean, I guess it depends if you're talking about an animal or if it's and conceptualize morality, but in the human context of like a human who's like able to understand basic language and shit, it's like there's no such thing as an ethical carnivore. That's just oxymoron.
Yeah, exactly. I just thought it was
kind of like saying ethical serial killer or something.
Yeah, ethical rapist.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I think I might respond to this. I've got the book and I'm actually going through it now. It's quite interesting too. I think it's because I'm always sort of reading things to sort of help me further my understanding of morality and things like this, and and veganism and things like that. But I think it's interesting to read more kind of stuff coming from the other person's position and just try and understand where they're coming from. Do you know what I mean? So I think it'd be quite an interesting thing to
hear you, but like eventually it just gets to like, I mean, I guess there's always the psychology there to explore. I just feel like eventually it gets to a point of like, these people are just coming from a desire to not change and just to keep doing what they're comfortable with, and they're just coming up with bullshit. I mean, it gets to a point you've just heard the excuses so many times. It's like, to learn. I mean, what you're just going to say, what are you going to say? Rocket ships, though? You're going to say species, though? I hear a new excuse very infrequently. It's pretty much all the same bullshit. And when there is a new excuse, it just collapses under the same format of if it was applied to you, you'd reject it.
Yeah, because the author of this book, she's saying it's okay to kill and eat your own animals, and if you do it, if you reduce your meat consumption, then it's okay. That's basically what she's saying in the book.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing as saying, well, okay, so do you accept that if I reduce my amount of murder, my amount of rape, that it's there okay?
Yeah, exactly. And so basically she's having a bit of a a talk here in Norwich in a few weeks' time. So I'm going to go along and ask her some questions in the older Q&A session.
That'll be funny. So you're gonna basically go and vegan troll her and film it, is what I'm.
Yeah, basically.
I kind of semi was going to do that to Sam Harris in a polite way, but like, you know, I was just going to ask him to name the trait, and my buddy was filming it, but just didn't quite get to the fucking mic. I did get to the mic, but then the questions were cut off. There?
Yeah, I lost. Can you hear me, Isaac?
I think Emma dropped. Okay. How are you doing, Tim?
Sounds like she did. I'm doing good, man. How about yourself?
Pretty good, pretty good. What have you been up to?
Same old shit. School, work, YouTube.
Yeah.
Yep. I actually have an opportunity that I can ask, like, kind of an online presentation that Richard Branson is doing for something I'm associated with in my school. And I know he's invested in Memphis Meats.
Oh, yeah.
And he started, I think he started a project with Cargill and Bill Gates to try to, promote more of a plant-based. And I think he even said that in 30 years he thinks meat will be pretty much obsolete. I'm thinking about trying to make a question for him specifically. I don't know if it'll get chosen, but it's all pre-recorded and shit, so I might try to do that.
Yeah, I'm very uncertain on the time frame that veganism is gonna.
Oh yeah, yeah, me too.
Been on, but I mean, I'm pretty confident it will happen. I mean, I think that the arc of history kind of demonstrates that, you know, there's a progression towards higher and higher levels of morality. So, I mean, I would assume that eventually we will get to a vegan world.
Right.
Well, you can't obviously deductively prove that.
Right.
But the time frame is something I'm pretty agnostic about.
Yeah,
I was interested. It was interesting that he put a time frame on it. I want to know what insider trading information he has.
Yeah.
Memphis Meats.
No idea.
Laz,
we can hear you.
Laz the Destroyer just donated $2. Thanks very much, Laz the Destroyer. And they also asked, I totally read that book, The Ethical Carnivore, a few years ago, and it prevented me from going vegan initially. Can I please have a conversation with you about it? Yeah, sure, Laz the Destroyer. I don't know if you want to get in touch with me online somehow.
She's actually, I'm pretty sure that's Laz from
the Discord.
My Discord.
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
so
cool.
I think you'll run into her.
Yeah, I think I've spotted a lot of names in the chat that I recognise from Discord, actually. So, yeah, I'll have a chat. It's cool. Seems
like that Discord isn't fucking just such an epic place. I love it.
Oh my god, it's it's kind of it's very addictive. I think Discord's hopefully Discord will take over Facebook one day and just fucking Facebook will just go under because Discord is so much better.
Quite a lot better, and it's just so good. Like I was having this communication problem with my audience for so long of just I can't stay on top of all these messages. I'm having to give these sniffy, shitty replies, but now with Discord, it's just so easy. There's a big group chat. A lot of them answer each other's questions. I don't have to respond to every individual thing. If it's really important, they can mention me. Like it's pretty fucking convenient and awesome. There's voice chat in there.
It's just got everything.
Eventually, it's going to grow into one of the best vegan communities online. Actually, like it's just such a good space. I think Emma dropped again. I'm assuming Tim's still there.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yo, Tim.
What's up? So I'll just go back to what I was saying before. I think in regards to what you were saying about the time frame, I think it's going to be, similar to how atheism and other ethical arguments grow. But I also think it's going to be similar to technological progression. Like the more the food improves basically and the technology to create that food, just traditional animal agriculture, it's eventually going to get to a point kind of like cell phones, not at the same speed, but it's going to get to a point where for economic reasons.
Yes. I agree that the technology thing will be probably a massive tipping point, or if somehow we hit the tipping point before the technological shift, which is possible. I mean, maybe the debate will advance that quickly. I mean, I bet the technology will be a huge thing, but I would just point out, though, that is not ever an ethical argument against veganism. When people say I'm waiting on the technology.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, of course it's not. Yeah, I'm just saying, from a purely utilitarian perspective, what's likely going to happen.
Yeah, I would assume that we probably won't advance the I almost said the Discord, the dialogue to a point that we get the world to go vegan before the technology gets good enough. I assume the technology will play a huge role.
Right.
I think I'm getting made fun of in the chat. Sorry, what?
Exponential progression with the technology. It's just once that starts going, it's going to be impossible for people to not want to side of the industry.
Well, it doesn't really matter even if it's exponential or not. It just matters if it overtakes the economic efficiency of standard production before the norm.
Right. Yeah.
Like it could be linear growth, but if it overtakes, then we're still going to.
It's going to happen. The result's the same.
It must do, because obviously, it's going to cost eventually. It's going to cost a lot less than producing livestock, right? It has to, because
it looks that way.
Yeah.
I mean, livestock is so inefficient. Her internet is just shit in the bed right now, eh? This time, are you there, Tim?
No, I can hear you. Yeah, I guess it's just hers.
That's unfortunate.
I guess it's yeah.
Do you ever debate people?
Not really. I've gotten into some of them, but I try to avoid them.
Yeah, why?
It's just because I get aggravated, and I don't like it. I don't like getting aggravated.
Yeah, fair enough. I hear that. It can be pretty infuriating dealing with some of the stupidity that's out there.
I mean, I've gotten into a few. Mostly they've just been informal in a massive just group live stream.
Sure.
I've gotten people to admit to some of the most strange shit. I got this one guy to admit that he thinks it's amoral to rape an orangutan. I gave him an example.
What?
He basically thinks that all animals, I guess I don't want to make his argument for him, but basically all non-human entities are objects, not subjects.
Oh my.
Only humans are objects. And so I even asked him, first gave him the old, if you had a choice between lab-grown medical to regular meat, I used bacon as the example, they were molecularly the same, to still kill the pig, even though you could have the same thing without killing the pig. And he was like, it's amoral, makes no difference.
God. Yeah, well, and there's...
I wanted to test this. I wanted to test how far he'd take it, so I got him to admit that, driving an axe into a coffee table is no different than doing it to a dog.
Oh yeah.
I got him to admit. Yeah. I got him to admit,
I have a video called what is it, slicing tomato equals dismembering deer or something like that, because people say that shit. It's no different.
Yeah, that's basically what he was saying. I mean, it was even worse because the tomato is at least part of a living organism, which it's still not comparable, of course, but the table itself, I guess it came from technically a living organism, but it's a completely inert subject. Or object rather.
Yes. Well, and with the.
Go ahead.
It's fine.
Well, the fact that he's trying to say that there's any significant similarity between a coffee table and a dog that would make it's just insane to me. That shit just blows me away.
Well, yeah, it's what makes you think Carnus actually is. Maybe they have some kind of mental disorder or something. With the whole object thing, it's there's so many different ways to break that down. I mean, first of all, you're just asserting group X are subjects and the rest are objects without actually giving a basis. So someone else can just spin that around on you and then say, okay, well, only animals are subject and only humans are objects, or only aliens are subjects and everything else is an object. So you can do it like that, or you can them into a non-human body. You can be like, okay, so we're just transporting your consciousness into a machine, and now what, are you just an object? Even if you can suffer and you can feel pain and you don't want to die, it's just fine to kill you because you're an object. So I mean, there's so many ways to just reduce that position to absurdity.
Yeah, well, I think that's kind of where he was going. If I kept pushing him, he would have just gone the complete nihilist route, where not even the narcissist nihilist, just complete pure nihilism, where he thinks nothing matters, where everything's amoral.
Well, and let's be clear for a sec. I think that in an ontological, I mean, both of us are probably nihilists. I don't think either of us believe that moral value exists in some kind of way outside of subjects.
Right.
practically speaking, I don't think either of us want to base a society on nihilism, because we don't want to just have no value in the eyes of the government and in the eyes of other people and just be open game for murder. We'd rather have some rights.
Exactly, and not least of all because we do exist in a place where subjects exist, where we are subjects. So
yeah, the nihilism thing is so retarded, and I don't think anyone who deploys it like actually wants to build a society like that. Like maybe there are people who are that stupid out there, but get people who are like, yeah, like kill me if you can. Like we don't need to have any kind of morality or law. Like I'm okay just abolishing anti-murder laws. I mean, I'm hard to kill. It's like, okay, right. Is your mom hard to kill? Like is your little child hard to kill? Argue for some world where you have to just like amass like weaponry and just like protect your family by force.
It makes no sense, because if you're a nihilist, you want to build a world that makes it most beneficial to you, and a world in which you're constantly worried about who's trying to kill you is obviously not of any benefit to you.
If you're a nihilist, you want to build a world that's well like someone who's a nihilist ontologically, that doesn't say anything about how they want to build a world. But if someone's a nihilist like pragmatically in terms of actually how they want to structure society, then they don't want even their own rights to be protected.
I mean, I guess, I don't know, that shit just seems so crazy to me when people try to push it to that point that it's hard for me to even conceptualize what's going on in their head. I guess it's kind of like the destiny argument, though.
Yeah, I mean, pretty insane. And like most people, I think once you get someone to that level of like they're saying that they're okay with genocide and stuff are like, okay, this guy's insane. Like we're not going to go down that road. Keep going with destiny, and you can try to find another kind of deeper level of contradiction between treated and how he's advocating treating other humans. If you can't get him to contradict himself between how he advocates treating other humans and how he advocates treating animals. But I mean, even getting into that debate of like, should human rights exist? I mean, most being with the vegan, maybe not about being vegan, but about the fact that the carnist is deploying completely insane argumentation that they'd never want to base society on.
Right.
Yeah. What argument frustrates you the most, Tim?
Oh, Jesus. That's a tough one.
Emma, like, is her internet?
She can't fix her audio. It looks like she just...
We've just hijacked your stream.
Yeah, okay, well, basically.
Tell me the argument that annoys you.
I think the one that just... I mean, this is going to seem like a really basic one, but it's just when I hear it, because I hear it more often than a lot of people seem to, but it's the how do you get protein argument. And I just hear that a lot. Maybe that's not the best example for the one that annoys me the most. The one that annoys me the most is probably... essentially is that they can't reason. You know, he's assuming animals can't do a fundamental thing without having any of the evidence available to them that would refute that. Like there's plenty, animals can reason, like they're caught. And I guess the reason why this one bothers me so much is because I spend so much time reading about animal cognition because I find it fascinating. Like their capacity to reason is far beyond what he thinks they are. I mean, he thinks they just don't have it at all.
Yeah, did you ever see that?
I'm back.
I was sending... there
we go. We can hear you. Yeah, welcome back.
I was just trying to figure out what was going on. I just unplugged the mic. It wasn't coming up on a...
You ever see that video? I sent it to Emma. It's that PhD animal behaviorist, or what's the word? Behaviorologist? No, it's behaviorist.
Pathologist?
And
I think I know what you're talking about.
Oh, he just gets into how intelligent are fish, like just what exactly is going on in a fish's brain, and he's written this book, What a Fish Knows.
Yeah,
like the amount of like interesting complex behaviors that fish display. Like I think Emma made reference to a bit of his debate even. It's impressive. Like you wouldn't expect it. Like they'll like float into your hand and let you pet them and shit. It's very weird.
They get depressed. Fish get depressed as well.
Depressed.
They do.
Yes, I mean, it comes down to like, and this is hard to argue against with a Christian, but I take more of an agnostic point of view. Like with what we do know about animals, we can say conclusively that we don't know everything about them. Not even close, especially not in terms of how they experience the world. And the more we learn about how they experience the world, the more we find it's actually closer to what we experience further away. And they're just assuming it's far, far away from what we experience. And it's just not true.
Yeah, so why not give them the benefit of the doubt first?
Exactly.
Well, yeah, because you'd err on the side of caution if you were in their position. But
totally.
the other thing is, like, it's like you're talking to someone who believes in mystical beings with no evidence, and the best evidence available is 2,000-year-old events that are passed through multiple different people and not even like firsthand experience. So you're not even trusting someone else's anecdote. Right. You're trusting someone else's interpretation of someone else's anecdote from fucking 2,000 years. It's like, if that is your standard of evidence, you're not like, I do not take you seriously intellectually. You're a fucking idiot.
Even with that stuff, as far as I know, the biblical references aren't even from a first-person perspective to begin with. Like, even the first, if you went back as far as you could and got the most original texts, they still were written after the fact by decades.
Death, yeah. It's yeah. So you're trusting, on anecdotes from years after the fact of an event that happened thousands of years ago. It's like, that's your standard of evidence. Okay, so you're retarded, is what you're telling me. I'm surprised you didn't make fun of him for believing that shit. I mean, I would have.
Well, I was hoping
jab or two, even though it's off point. I would have been like, you believe in fucking mystical entities. Like, who the hell are you to talk about reason?
I just didn't want to go on to it. I didn't want it to be a debate about religion. I just wanted to keep it on track.
Fair enough. Because I would have to avoid taking a little shot, but I totally agree that not like dwelling there or something.
I just find I just find atheism boring as well, to be honest. Like, of course, God doesn't exist. We don't need to keep banging on about it and have, I don't think we need to have loads of discussions about it anymore. It's just obvious, right?
Stupidly obvious topic. It's not that interesting. But to be fair, a lot of people, myself included, built a lot of their reasoning through watching debates on atheism. So
yeah,
I mean,
cool.
I do think it's good because it's like the fundamental example of like the age-old debate of trying to argue for something illogical. So it's just a perfect like pure case of so many like fallacies and just such a good chance to just observe bad logic and good logic in pure form. Oh,
I see. So just like
it's like kind of the classic debate. Like Hitch called it like the perennial debate or something like this. So I see a level of truth to that it'll kind of be like. I think it's useful. I think that you can learn a lot about reasoning. Like if you watch the good old classic atheist debates like Hitch and Doc and Harris just murking Christians to such insane levels. I mean, first of all, it's hilariously entertaining and like pretty good for your reasoning. But point where it's like, okay, this is just so fucking obvious. I think we all get this now.
Yeah, I saw a documentary that Dawkins did. It was a BBC thing. I can't remember what it's called now, but he just went through all of the religions, spirituality,
Enemies
like holistic healing, all that kind of stuff. It was really interesting.
Enemies of Reason. That's what it's called. It's called Enemies of Reason.
That's it. Yeah. Enemies of Reason. It was really good. And at one point he was talking to this really famous minister or whatever, and this church is like massive and it has like thousands of people go there, and like they're all like praise the Lord, like really like they have like bands and stuff, like all these religious bands, and it's just so culty. And Dawkins is just talking to him, and he's just getting so angry with him. I just love it when he gets angry.
Oh man, there's a really hilarious.
He was so smug. This minister.
They're brutally smug, and like you should watch. Dawkins versus Deepak Chopra at Festival of Dangerous Ideas. Deepak's trying to argue that
shit's so funny.
And yeah, it's kind of like related a little to veganism. It's pretty funny.
It's like it's so. I used to think Deepak Chopra might have like some interesting like ways for people to try to like learn more about spirituality and stuff like that. And then once I heard that, I mean that's a few years old now. Once I heard that shit, I was like, this guy is completely moronic. He doesn't know a goddamn. It's crazy too, because wasn't he a medical doctor at one point? Like he's definitely a smart individual.
Have you guys ever seen? He's like a neuroendocrinologist. Have you ever seen the Deepak quote generator?
Yeah, it just gives you like woo-woo statements that mean nothing.
It's pretty fucking great. It's called Wisdom of Chopra, so we'll just generate one right now. A formless void belongs to the flow of space-time events. And this basically, it's an algorithm that compiles Deepak wisdom from his own tweets. Receive more wisdom. The key to joy is the path to spontaneous energy. Qualia is beyond subjective boundaries. Is the ground of sub-empirical opportunities. Just total woo-woo, but like an idiot would be like, oh, it's complicated and I don't understand it, so maybe it makes sense.
Better get his book.
Well, I mean, I'm surprised that Todd didn't go into souls though, or something like that, of that nature, to be honest, but he didn't actually go there. I think
Christians know they can't defend that shit, so they probably avoid it.
They can't, they were meant to say what it actually means, what is a soul, do you know what I mean? So, yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're meant to define the term anyway. So,
don't get me wrong. Christians are pretty nice a lot of the time, but like, their beliefs are just pure insanity.
Yeah,
they can't provide any evidence for them.
It's kind of strange. All
right, guys. Well, I think I'm gonna dip out, but you fucking destroyed that idiot. So good job,
thanks,
Emma.
Isaac. Yeah, I was just gonna bring up the this meme here to end it one, because I'm gonna go in and get some food now anyway, so kind of trying to handle my own trait.
Have a good day, guys.
All right, see you, Isaac. I'm gonna drop out too, Emma. Yeah. Thanks for having me on.
You're very welcome. Yeah, thanks for coming on, Tim. Yeah. All right, guys.
My pleasure.
Catch you later.
Take care.
Bye. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks to everyone that's super chatted me tonight. That's extremely kind of you. So I don't have any more debates planned for the time being. I do have some upcoming videos to make from the Keep It Truth events that I've been doing recently. Sorry for the irregular uploads. It's just because I'm working full time now, so I only really have the weekends to kind of do these kinds of things, and the live streams are something that I can do where it doesn't take too much time to edit and it's not too much effort, and it's, because it's live. So thank you to all my Patreons that still are supporting me, because I understand, I'm not putting out too much regular content at the moment, but thanks for sticking with me, and I will be able to hopefully produce some really good content in the future. And that's about it for tonight, guys. Until next time, it's been a good one tonight. Perhaps I might do another live stream next weekend. I'm not really sure yet, but I'll keep you updated on Patreon, Facebook, Twitter. So if you're not following me on those, just check the link in the description and you'll see all the links to my social media and stuff. So you can see what I'm up to there. And in the meantime, that's it really. I mean, I had a really good time. I'm quite tired now though, so I think I'm just going to eat and go to bed. But yeah, thanks very much, guys, and until next time, see you later. Bye.